Come on, Grandma.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, you gumpers.
Hola, bon dia. Hey, you gumpers. How are you doing? This is how it should be. There you go. Oh, no, not that one. Mrs. M. What's happening here? That's the one. It's confusing with all this same stuff going on the screen here with the graphics. How are you this morning? Shall I move up a bit?
Yeah,
I'm
that'd
rather
be nice.
dominating the screen. Sorry about
You
that.
are.
Well, you disappeared. I thought you weren't coming back, so I had to take center stage for a moment.
Of course you did.
And you said, this is great when we're sat like this because people can see how big your head is and how petite I am in comparison.
Yeah, I feel quite petite.
Do you think supermodels might want to book me to make themselves look even, I don't know, smaller and
I don't know, because
sylph-like?
they'll be taller than you, won't they? So
And people,
that probably won't work.
yeah, and I might steal their limelight as people say, look at his fat head. Morning,
Who knows?
everybody. How are you? Luke Jansen is waiting for us in the wings. It was our delight to meet Luke at the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit on, when did we do the round table? A couple of nights ago, wasn't it? Which was really good.
Yeah, on
Come
Wednesday.
on, squeeze in a little. It looks like I'm relegating you to the side of the screen, which I'm not, I promise. I can't adjust the, yesterday I was able to adjust my exposure, which is always useful to be able to do. Today we're still a little bit dark on the screen. The Logi software, what's happening with the Logi software, Mrs. M? It's not firing up, is it? Maybe it's,
I have no idea.
There's always something, isn't there?
I know, with this recent office move, it's just
it's great. Come
yeah.
on, don't be like that. This sums up one view of technology.
Yeah.
And I do sound like an old giffer complaining about all this technology. And I might get a call from one of my grandchildren saying, no, Grandad, listen, double click. They won't be saying double click on the Internet Explorer icon, will they?
no.
No one knows what that is. The funny thing about this meme, which was sent in by James, is that kid is probably 30 now. And he's having children of his own showing
Oh,
him.
yeah, because it's a wired phone, isn't it?
It's a wired phone.
Yeah.
It's a granite worktop still, but he's talking about Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
And nobody, Grandma is the only person using Internet Explorer now, isn't she?
Maybe.
I like it. It's safe and reliable. Sound like a Monty Python old grandma. How are you this morning,
Yeah,
Mrs.
I'm
M?
well. I'm kind of raring to go. It's been a while since I've been on your show.
It has been too
and
long.
I'm kind of curious to find out, what are we doing today?
Well, there are things you need to catch up on. Oh, I see what you did there. That's like
Yeah,
a
on the
production
show.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Who's joining us?
I'm giving you the prompt.
Forgot
to tell
about
everyone
that.
what's going on your
Yes,
show today.
That's really clever of you. Well done. But before we go there, you know we're at the cutting edge of male fashions and so on. I wonder, Luke might like. Well, who are we? Who to give fashion tips to Luke? He's a very handsome fellow, isn't he?
He is.
Fine
He's got great
head of
hair.
He does.
Beautiful hair.
But he might like to look at the latest styles that we were talking about earlier this week. What do you think?
I don't think Luke needs to worry about tarting himself up because he's gorgeous. He doesn't need any of that.
Well, some were suggesting that I could do this latest one, as such a sucker as I am for the latest fashions. But they said I might not have enough hair on top. So it might have to be
A beard over.
A beard over like this one.
Yeah.
Hey, would you find me attractive like that?
Not especially.
The problem
I
with
could
that,
do that with my hair.
The problem with that is waking up next to that in the morning, right?
I could do a hair under.
A hair under.
And I could meet you in the
I think
middle.
you have done that, haven't you?
Yeah.
And here's a more sophisticated version of it.
Yeah.
The problem with him is he doesn't.
I
look
know
very
women
happy
that
about-
look like that.
Do you?
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm pleased to say I don't, but I mean each to their own. I can't ask you on air who you know.
No, I'm not going to say. Anyway, what are we
Who
doing
is on the show today? On today's show,
tell us about today's show.
we have Coach Turner joining us. If we've got a God Squad tip of the day in early,
Mhm.
We will do that when he arrives because we've got a packed show. Luke's joining us in just a moment to tell us about Tytle, his new tax advisory service. He's based in Lisbon. Look, 2 lovely extra guests today, including Luke from Tax Advisors Tytle. I've called them GTA. It's like Grand Theft Auto, but no, it's Global Tax Advisors.
Grandad, you're showing your age again with Grand Theft Auto.
I am not showing. I'm showing how contemporary I am by saying that. I think I've got Grand Theft Auto version 17 now on my PlayStation. And Dan from Soul Finesse. Yes, Dan's joining us as well, who is the great creator.
Oh, yeah, really, really good food.
Yeah, there's Dan. Isn't that a lovely picture of Dan and Bev? And that's the plate of food. I'm going to try something else this Sunday at Pit Stop. That's the fried fish, cornbread, mac and cheese, and beans and rice that I had last weekend. So we'll say hello to Dan at around 9:30 this morning. And to change the atmosphere completely, Mrs. M, I'm going to talk about the Bilderberg group. Is that what they're called? At 10 o'clock on.
Do you know, I always think of Build-A-Bear. You know, they have these little shops where they put together little teddy bears.
That would only be a front for their, what some say, nefarious. There's just a group of men mainly meeting in Lisbon to chat about AI, nothing to worry about. So we'll, unless you read David Icke, of course, then you'll be terrified that they're setting foot here. So I'm going to talk openly about the Bilderberg group. And they published their agenda. They're using the Chatham House rules, which is an interesting device. And I will be talking about that. And anything else anyone wants to talk about at 10 o'clock on the Iberian FM phone. We shouldn't keep him waiting, should we?
No,
really?
let's bring Luke
should we bring Luke on now? And Bobby's here. Bobby can't be with us today, unfortunately.
Aww.
Looking forward to being in Bobby's company as we do on a weekly basis, but he can't be here this morning. But lots of love to you, Bobby, and have a great day, and to the family, and have a great weekend as well. Good to see you here in the chat. And Anna has 2 videos from us from is it Serpa or Serpa? I think there are 2. There's one in the Castelo Branco district, is there not? Central Portugal, which we've been to and we loved. That was where they had the yoga festival with beer yoga.
Beer yoga.
Was it a beer festival with yoga, or was it a yoga festival with beer?
It was a beer festival with
yoga. You never
yoga.
tell in Portugal, can you? It was a beer festival with some yoga. Okay.
Yeah.
Something for the ladies. Oh, that's so deeply sexist. I'm sorry. Immediately. Might get invited to the Bilderberg group with thoughts like that.
I'd be more interested in wine yoga.
Wine yoga. Okay, we're not spilling it whilst pulling an elaborate sutra.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like to first thing in the morning pull your elaborate sutra? Okay, Anna, thank you for your videos. We'll play those later as well. So we got Antonio F. We got PT Country Bear. Good morning to you. Bon dia alegria. No dia de bruix. Dia de Espiga. Yes, of course, it was the Dia de Espiga yesterday.
What's that?
It was the day of the wheat sheaves, I think, or Ascension Day here in Portugal.
Oh.
You thought you might catch me out there, huh? I thought I was nearly caught out there. I just remembered in time. Francis is here as well. Bon dia a todos. Bon fin de semana. Been a busy week of training, but I'm back. Trust that you're all well. Great to see you here. Not long now. James is in, and T-Duck, of course. And I'm gonna hit Ian and fill up with the dad jokes straight away when they arrive this morning. It's the right thing to do. Deagle's here as well. Saw Pastel Donata's on the way to work in Belfast. Son Matt, I think, had one, along with a cup of coffee. So lots to squeeze in today, including our next guest on the show right now, Luke Janssen.
Hey.
Good morning to you, Luke.
Morning.
And as we said, pleasure to meet you. Yeah, bon dia. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Well, we thought we must, because you've got an exciting product. Part of the roundtable discussions the other night were how difficult it is getting one's taxation affairs in order in Portugal. It is a pain from which you are helping people. It would appear now.
And also, Luke was the most chill person at the evening a couple of nights ago.
He was, wasn't he?
And that instantly made me want to, like, I was writing notes and
I was just shy.
Get Luke on the show. Pass the note to Carl.
True.
Yeah.
And there you were, the wonderful Alison Baxley, who's organising the Portugal Plan Virtual Summit. Last day today, my talk is on there today. I think you've already done yours, haven't you, Luke? Mrs. M's done hers.
Yeah.
Luke,
I've already done mine. Yeah.
Right. So
it was a great summit.
It was.
She did well.
Yeah, brilliant job. So what was it you spoke about? What is it you do?
Yeah, so I spoke about taxes in Portugal, but how that interacts with any other kind of tax system abroad. So there's a lot of confusion when it comes to taxes. When you come to Portugal, what happens to the NHR? Do I qualify? Do I have to do a whole kind restructure of my life in terms of the income that I'm getting, becoming a freelancer or not, like how much can I save with these taxes, or actually am I getting worse off? And so there's a lot of local tax advice that do, very well, and or like are very experienced, of course, and are very knowledgeable. But I found that like there is a lack of international glue in the world, where it depends a lot on where you're coming from, on like whether it can be beneficial to you. And so we do an international approach. We look at where you're coming from and then how that works locally. So that's what I talked about, and it's really just geared for immigrants, expats, people that are always on the move, have real estate in another country, tricky stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting because you were just mentioning backstage that you've just moved here from California. And I know from some of the people that we have on your show that the tax situation in California is really unattractive to a lot of people.
Hi, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of considerations. I think, it's Portugal seems very attractive by comparison to a lot of Californians right now.
Definitely, yeah. They've been increasing also property taxes, and it's pretty hard to already make a decent income there, right, with the cost of living. So
indeed. And so just Tytle.io, not .com or .pt, but .io.
Very tech startup-y.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, that's what you are, isn't it? You the other aspect of your business, as I understood it from talking to you the other evening, is that you're tech driven. And now the scene, the accountancy scene, as I think our other colleague Vasco was saying on the round table, is that accountants in Portugal are very old school and quite technology averse. And you'll see this, right? If you go into Finanças, there are ring binders from the 1950s behind the staff there, aren't there? And even if you go into a contabilista, the bookkeepers and accountants of Portugal, they're very proud of the array of box files and binders behind them, aren't they, from wall to wall? It seems to be the sort of interior design standard of a Portuguese office is, look at all this paper. We are serious about what we do here. We've got lots of paper. You're coming at it from another angle, right? Tech-driven, maybe app-driven, and people can work online with you rather than having to make a pilgrimage to the office every time they have a tax.
That's so true. I love that all the examples that you give, because those are all my experiences. I've got exactly the same experience, and also with Finanças. Whenever I log in, with my NIF and everything, then I have to find something of a property that I'm renting or that I've bought or stuff. Then it's like I have to go on other services and go through this digital binder. It's not really an improvement. Physical binder. It's like digital binder, and I still don't know what I'm clicking on. It's quite hard. But,
is that what, do you think that's what happens when a Portuguese company or the Portuguese government have a meeting with the web designers and they say, okay, so what is it you want to do? Well, we want to put all these papers online. And basically that's what they don't take advantage of the technology opportunity, do they? They just transfer everything. I mean, if you look at the Finanças portal, it does look like something that is a lot of paper squeezed into a pen drive, maybe.
It's like I do have to give them a little bit of credit, because they make it such that you can see your, what is it? Any requests that are outstanding. And of course, there's no updates on, when it's due or when it's like supposed to be done. But at least you can submit a form digitally. So I think they just like slapped on a form on all these like local, like physical binders. And then someone gets an email saying like, hey, there's a new thing coming in.
That's what
this is my imagination. Of course, it's probably more complex, and I may be, being a bit not nice to people who work there and stuff like that. But it's definitely for immigrants also, where Portuguese is not their first language. It's not an easy system.
No. Absolutely right. Absolutely.
I suspect, I suspect the way I'm using it is kind of similar to how a lot of people use it. Is I've found what I need to find. And then every time I need to use it, I go to like this, not a little spreadsheet, but a little reminder to myself of what I click each time. And I just go through the same thing. I have no idea about the whole vast array of what it does. I just follow like, say, three ways to submit my green paper, like my green ticket or whatever it's called. But
is this all on a little folder on your Internet Explorer?
No.
Okay. All right.
Luke, what I didn't get from Wednesday night, because it was more about chatting around migration rather than our personal histories. I want to find out how how you came to get involved in what you're doing. Like, what makes somebody wake up one morning and think, wow, I want to help people with their tax internationally? Like, how did you go from like being like, you know, waking up one day to going down that route?
Yeah, it's a good question. I also question myself every day, like why that happen, especially with taxes. No, but I am first and foremost someone who like is very technology driven. So I'm very coming in from like logic, like an angle of logic. And I like to build projects and companies that have to do with international infrastructure. And that is all the connecting. Oh, that's the thing that I get really excited about. So as someone who moved a lot, I've lived in the States, in Australia, and in Portugal and the Netherlands, and having projects or have started projects in different places. Taxes always haunted me. It's like, okay, now that I go to a new place, like what the hell do I do? Find a new local tax advisor. Then I don't know if they're good, right? I have to find them through a network. Then they have to talk to my tax advisor in my local country because they don't really understand the international complexities. And then it becomes this ping pong game of like, I'm the one in the middle and I have no idea what's going on. Am I paying too much? I don't know. It's always become this too big of a thing for someone who just wants to move, right? And just wants to explore the world in a way. And so that really bugged me. So my previous company was about international credit, like the data of credit, that you can move that across borders. And this one is for taxes. And so that also gives away that I am not officially a tax advisor. I'm the CEO of Tytle, and like, you know, the strategy, and I'm combining the tech side, making beautiful UI, making everything such that it makes sense for users like you and me, right? That we see when is something due, what did I pay for, what is the scope, and who is helping me locally, what is the international implications, and that we make that super clear, so you know what you're going to get and why it's helpful, and not like, oh, let's just start some advice for like, you know, 200, 300 euros an hour and we'll see where it ends, and then not really sure what it's going to help you for. That's the goal. So yeah, I'm a tech startup founder, but of course in our team we have tax advisors in our team. And then we work, of course, with local people that we have vetted with pretty tough criteria to make sure that it's one cohesive international team. So we're in like 30 plus countries. At the end of this month, which is only 1 to 2 weeks away, we'll be in 33 countries.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's amazing. You just added an
job.
extra 3 countries in the space of a month. That's impressive.
And you're a facilitator of these things. That's the right way to use technology, isn't it? Is not to replicate what we do in the physical world necessarily, although lots of people are trying to do that obviously at the moment. But to see how an earthbound problem, a earthly problem, can be sorted out using technology. Which is what you're doing. I think that's a fantastic use of technology. Can we do a little bit of a use case then? Because I think you hit the nail on the head where, okay, fair enough, you've got a Portuguese tax advisor, if you're lucky enough to find someone who you can work with. And then you've got your American tax advisor, because all Americans have to file their taxes. They never let you go, do they, from the American side? And each of those might be okay, but it's the connection between the two. And you're left managing that anxiety, aren't you? Because the Portuguese guy will say, "Oh, no, I can't possibly talk about American tax," because they're worried about possibly being fined or sued or something like that. And the American person says, "I don't know about Portuguese stuff. You're on your own with that." And then each individual becomes a facilitator of that relationship. And obviously, everyone's ultimately responsible for their own taxes. But that's a really difficult position to be in. And that's what you're coming in and dealing with, is it? How would you deal with an American in that condition, for example?
I think you hit the nail better on the head than I did. I was kind of hitting the nail a bit more crooked. You're just like, this is exactly what it is.
Teamwork, Luke, yes.
Yeah, it's great. So I think that is a really good example. Maybe what a lot of people are familiar with who are expats and, you know, have stuff international is these services like My Expat Taxes, or in the Netherlands there's one called Blue Umbrella that I know of. Or greenback taxes.
Why is it called greenback? I've heard of. Dave at Greenback's very helpful. What
they're
do
awesome.
they call it? Blue Umbrella? Is it just one of those?
I have no idea, to be honest.
They saw on the way.
I have no idea.
Okay, sorry.
It sounds like a sexy startup name, maybe. This Blue Umbrella.
It does. It's like, yeah, I want to buy some stock in Blue Umbrella. Sounds amazing. What do they do? Tax advice. Oh.
They only sell Blue Umbrellas.
Sorry to interrupt you with your Blue Umbrella there.
No, those are just services that people may be familiar with, and they're really good services. Like I have nothing bad to say again, like about them. They're amazing services, but the thing they do is only do the local service for expats. So if you're an American, then you have your filing requirements for national in your like in your country in the US. And so these services like Greenback, they can do that. They focus on expats that live abroad, American expats living abroad, but they leave you to your own devices in Portugal and the interaction, or Spain or France or any country for that matter. And it makes sense because it's really complex. So in order to be an expert locally, and then also between all these countries and then in the country, it's virtually impossible. So we flip it around and be only the international experts. And then the locally, like we have tax advisors that then just feed in the information. And so we can kind of take a more unified approach. And so one example is if a American person comes to Portugal, right? And let's say they work for themselves, they're a freelancer, a sole proprietor. They move to Portugal. They still need to file in the US, of course, because they are a US citizen. They apply for NHR. They qualify for NHR. Sometimes people don't qualify. They qualify for NHR, but then you still need to work out how you're going to use the NHR.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, you cannot just keep your own income from the LLC, like sometimes, and have like pay it out to yourself in Portugal, because Portugal has a different approach to seeing what this LLC income looks like from a Portuguese perspective. Portugal may not see it as a sole proprietorship income. It may actually see it as regular income from like, a salary, because it's kind of a structure, an LLC. It's an incorporated entity. It's because Portugal doesn't exactly have something that is similar to an LLC or the same to an LLC. They have similar things. And so there's all these interactions, right? How does the local authority look at that? And do they think it's exempt for like under NHR? Right. And so now you have someone in the US that has to talk about LLC, like how do we structure it? Is it actually, an LLC with a partner? Am I just like the single director? What does the LLC do? Those are all things that are super important from the Portuguese perspective as well, right? So now you have this interaction, and someone needs to facilitate that. Someone needs to have these two people talk to each other without you being in the middle, only when necessary, of course. You need to provide information. And then on top of that, there are all these things with double taxation treaties, as they're called. There are these rules or these treaties, these agreements between most countries in the world that will stipulate if you, as a regular person in the world, you don't need to be a tax professional, but as a regular person in the world, you have let's say a house in the States. So let's say in California, you move to Portugal, and now you're renting out the house that you previously lived in. That income is generally taxed in the state where the house is. So that will be in California and in the States in general. And then the double taxation treaty says that is just exempt in Portugal, like specifically for real estate rental income. And there's all these rules on these agreements between a country, all these rules on dividends and all these things. So we take all of that in a melting pot, look at what the international applications are, and then bring in the local expertise as such that this US example, this person, knows how to set up their taxes when they come to Portugal, and also such they can file every year, right? Because you also have to file in two countries, and there is dependencies there as well. Like what do you write in your US one, or what do you write in a Portuguese one?
Brilliant.
So I think that's the most clear example from a US perspective. But like taxes are super complicated, so there's a lot of different income types and things that that is different.
Well, there's a few things going on, aren't there? I think tax authorities around the world, in a downturn, in a challenging economy, they employ more people and they go after people more, don't they, to raise more tax revenue?
Yeah, recently with the IRS in the US, right?
Yes, I mean the IRS have bought tanks and nuclear weapons, haven't they, to enforce taxation? Anyway, that was a joke. That was a joke. Well, they might.
You'll get someone in the chat room.
I did. That's right. How very dare you say that about our lovely IRS? Does anyone ever refer to the IRS as our lovely IRS?
There will be some people.
Politicians do. Sure. Politicians do, don't they? But I this is wonderful what you're doing, and I think you are a disruptor. I think that's part of the whole startup culture, isn't it? In as much as, do you remember when TurboTax came along and QuickBooks? Grandma, you're still on Internet Explorer. these things changed how people related to the taxation authorities, didn't they? Because the tax people couldn't hold back any longer and say, well, we don't do that. People were using software to bring their data together and to crunch the numbers and then give them the number to pay. And you could present that, couldn't you, to a tax official and say, look, this is what millions of people are doing now. This is what I have worked out I owe you. The tax professionals were using it as well. What you're doing, I think, could be quite a useful impact on the Portuguese system as well. The more and more people who use Tytle, for example, then the tax people might open their eyes and ears to it and say, actually, this guy's got it figured out. This is actually less confusing for us as professionals inside not the industry, but inside the government as well. Is that part of your business plan? Can I be a virtual board member?
You can always be a board member, Carl. Great. Yeah, we fun as well. It is not part of the business plan necessarily, but we do have, of course, an idea of if we just really grow this out in all these countries, right, and make a true dent and an impact in making tax experts locally super happy, because they now also get much more transparency. Like, we ask so much from the user upfront that there is much less to be questions on both sides. We make this mismatch on expectations kind of go away in the beginning as well.
Yeah.
And it's just technology aided. And of course, we do a call with the user as well to make sure that we understand their case.
Yes.
And I think if that model works and it like, we may have some impact in the future, on like local policies, right? On like, hey, maybe they come to us for some advice, for like, hey, how does it work in these countries? And can we assemble a team, maybe a research team, or I don't know what the idea there is going to look like. But if we truly make this a service that scales to the whole world, right, which we're in the process of, I think, of course, I would love to have an actual voice in this realm. It'd be amazing.
And if you make it easier for people, I think that's what can happen, right? I don't think disruption necessarily takes place from companies saying, we're going to disrupt you. I don't think people take kindly to that today. But if everyone involved feels some benefit, and if a pain is being addressed successfully and efficiently, then they may well be open to it. And I suspect in the taxation world that happens. And I think there's also, is there another thing here? I don't know what this phenomenon would be called, but professionals can often blame each other, can't they? So they might say, well, I've done my bit, but the guy over in Switzerland, he's dragging his feet. And sometimes that's a little bit of a grey area, I think, where professionals can be blaming each other and not necessarily taking responsibility for this happening. Your system could deal with that, couldn't it? I mean, if you're trading on the fact that our professionals work together to get you over the line and get you a good end result, that's a really good sales point, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We make sure that interaction is baked in the system. Yeah.
Fantastic. None of this. It's her fault. She was doing that bit. Yeah, great. That's a really good thing that you're addressing there. So
thank you. I think so too. It solves my own pain from all of these travels and all of these migrations that I've done. So I hope it just of course, we help a lot of people right now already. Like, we've been live for around, like, with this product a year, but we've been existing for 2 years. So we've helped many people, but I think it's going to grow very quickly if we're going to really market in other markets as well. Right now, we're targeting for marketing Portugal and the US and then some other countries, because we just cannot handle the load. We want to make sure the service is excellent.
Yes.
But but next year, who knows?
Oh, fantastic.
It sounds to me like Carl is wrapping this up a little bit, but
you know me so well.
But before he wraps this up, I just wanted to ask you, where are most of your customers currently from? Are they mainly from the US and Canada, or like
mainly US and UK?
US.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Coming into Portugal. But we also have, because we have 33 countries, or almost 33 countries live. We have in almost all countries we have users, but the biggest bulk comes from US, Portugal, because that's where we're currently putting a lot of marketing efforts in, making sure that we are very knowledgeable in that corridor. Of course, every corridor is knowledgeable, but like, if you have hundreds of users in a month on one corridor, you're just generally getting more knowledgeable, because it's so complicated. And so, but in every country we have users that are coming through, and we will market that in other countries next year. Yeah.
We wish
But
you
like
the
people find us just like organically because we do
Of
SEO
course they do.
on Google, and I'm
Yeah.
in some webinars and talking about it. So.
Oh, you're going to get a whole lot of word of mouth as well. As soon as you start solving people's pain,
Yeah.
people love to share, don't they?
Mm.
And there's this thing in AI, isn't there? Singularity, the point of singularity that many scientists and researchers are talking about. Apparently, in the Portuguese accounting, singularity is when you get 3 Portuguese accountants in a room and they all agree, which has never been known in the history of Portugal. So, yeah, Portuguese accounting singularity. We're approaching that moment, and even CERN are helping with that because it's such a massive problem.
I also heard that that's where the tiny black hole discoveries were made, right? The gravity of that mutual cohesion is so big.
It's probably quite dangerous being in the same room as three Portuguese accountants. The God particle.
Yeah, it's the God particle, isn't
exactly.
it?
Yeah,
yes.
it rarely occurs.
Death and taxes.
It's
God.
death, taxes, and God. The certainties of life. It's really been fantastic to meet you this week and talk to you today. Let's stay in touch because there are many people in our community, I think, who would benefit from your services.
Yeah, absolutely. You should get Luke on your community.
Yeah, spread the word.
Definitely, yeah.
Is he on school?
He's not in our GMP VIP. We'll send you a guest pass to that later on today.
Amazing. Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here. Bon fin de semana and all the best. Boas sortes with your fantastic project.
Yeah, lots of love.
Obrigado. Bon fin de semana.
Thank
you for having me. Ciao.
Fantastic. There he goes. There's Luke. A fine young gentleman.
I was just about to say what a lovely person he is.
Yes.
He's so calm and funny.
And I'm not sure I can take any more nice people, but we're going to be overwhelmed with them now.
But because like people buy people, don't they? Like if I was thinking who would I want to go with my DAX, I would be thinking, I'd have more confidence in Luke because he's so.
I remember having a meeting with an accountant in the UK and with the Mrs. Munson of the time, not meaning to be indelicate on this matter. And we were sat there with this woman and I asked her a question. She said, I don't know the answer to that. But you see that big book behind me?
Yeah.
All the answers are in there. And we went home, and on the way home, I was like, I don't think she's the right person. She needed to tell me, even if she didn't know the answer, that she did with accountancy. Yeah. I guess she was ahead of the curve with authenticity, but it's not the environment you want it in necessarily, is it? She should have had a white coat on, really. Okay, let's keep that applause going because we now welcome onto the screen our great mates, Phil Cooklin and Coach Turner. We are now hidden.
Morning.
Banners. Morning, fellas. How are you?
Morning.
Let's keep you from. There we go. You're unobscured now. Great to see you. I think we see the familiar, a beautiful interior design of Hertfordshire behind Coach Turner.
Yep.
Yes, thumbs up there. Big Phil. Although we see the familiar internal workings of the camper van of Tut, it may have changed location since our last conversation. Where are you, Phil?
Oh yes, we're down. We took a little bit of a jaunt south. We thought south. We've not done south. We came down. Some guy I know. That always reminds me of some guy. That's one of those movies, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. I think
no, some guy I know said, "Oh, when you first, some guy I know, when you first come in."
Are we going to get to the end of the story, or is that a Ronnie Corbett one?
It's a Ronnie Corbett one. He said, when you first come into Portugal, what you need to do is you need to go driving down the N2. Some bloke, I still see him from time to time. He said, come down the N2. You want to go down the old Spice Trail? And we did. We got to as far as Castelo Branco. We never went any further. So we thought, well, we better at some point go and have a look at the rest of it. Oh, and Lady M, I just have to say to you, you know how he was calm and funny? Well, this is the reverse side of the coin, right? Loud and not very, okay? Just so we set the bar where it needs to be for the next bit of the show.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that, Phil.
Okay.
On the N2, on the old Spice Trail,
so we came all the way down. We've been jaunting around the bottom end of the country. Portugal. Beautiful, beautiful country. All you have to do is choose which part of the beauty you want to go and live in. You know, because there is beauty to be found. I mean, we went to Monchique and we've been to Sagres and along the bottom to Praia de Luz and all of this stuff. And we've heard lots of English.
He's bottom feeding at the moment in Portugal. Stop referring to it as the bottom of Portugal, Phil. The lower, the lower.
The south.
I can only say when I look at the maps, there is a top and there is a bottom.
There is.
When you look at the map, the south of Portugal is never at the top.
That's so true.
Okay.
I wonder if it's at the top if you look at a map of the globe from Australia.
Not quite. It's like history's written by the
Exactly.
victors, isn't it? Maps are made by the victorious cartographers, I suspect, who impose their worldview on everybody else. How very dare they? What?
What were your favourite bits so far?
Oh, yeah, on the Old
Yeah,
Spice.
sorry.
No, there's a lot of clarifications to do here. Some people are hearing the Old Spice Trail, imagining that it's sponsored by an aftershave company. And
I smell good, let me tell you. I smell
we
good.
know that. We can tell from here. Not that kind of Old Spice. If we were wearing Old Spice, we could probably smell it from here. But it's not that. It's the Old Spice Trail, as in herbs and spices, and the trading route, the great trading route of Portugal, at the spine, commercial spine.
Correct. Yeah. And it's a, you know, if you haven't done it, the old N2, you really need to go and you know, particularly at the north end, you go down the Douro Valley. I mean, if you're not awed by how beautiful that is, look how beautiful that is as well.
How beautiful is this? Where are you on the N2 here? Castro Verde, where is that?
That's about an hour's north of the Algarve.
Right,
and we cut across from there to Monchique and then to Sagres, where I thought there would be lots of beer, but apparently not.
Oh, of course.
Disappointing.
Yeah, just wind and water.
Wind, water, and a big old fort.
They're two lovely towns, though, aren't they? Monchique and Sagres are beautiful.
Yeah, well,
they are. They truly are. And that's why I say, when we went up the old mountain of the Serra, somewhere or other, they're all Serras, aren't they?
They are.
There's so many. There's like so many ducks in Leicester, and there's so many Serras in Portugal.
I didn't know about Leicester
Sarah
and
and
ducks.
Right,
Yeah, hey up me duck. You got any cob? Actually, if you're going to say it properly, it's hey up me duck. You got any cobs? Going down the city with Tracy and Deborah.
Got any what? Cobs. What is
Yes, a cob. You'd call it a crusty roll down south, but in Leicester it's called a cob.
A bread cake if you're in Yorkshire. Okay, gotcha. Now I've got to ask you. We haven't even got to Coach Turner yet in Hertfordshire.
I'm so sorry.
Is it true that the route is peppered with minions like this? I mean, the kids when they're travelling the N2, this is how you can get the kids to go on the journey, isn't it? There are minions everywhere. Spot the minion. And
absolutely. And you can get these maps if you start at one end, get the map, and you can get the stamps going all the way down. It's just Portugal's such a beautiful country. We are so blessed. Those of us that are here are so blessed to be here, and I can't wait to get my residency, so I'm here permanently. Because,
great, well said. You're so right, and it's good to hear that every now and then. And that's why Coach Turner has an interest in coming to Portugal, getting here as often as possible, and serving the God Squad on a daily basis. I'm so glad you were able to have a bit of a rest last week, but you were here as a punter, weren't you, for the whole week? And thank you for taking whilst away.
I was there in spirit.
You were, and we've been talking about. Some say they could never do it, but we managed to talk about lactic acid, did we not? And the types of energy systems. Can we have a quick recap on that, please?
Well, I mean, something that's quite important to learn as a coach and probably an athlete. They need to understand what they're doing, really. So there's three basic energy systems that the body uses. The really fast and furious one is anaerobic, so i.e. no oxygen, and alactic, so i.e. not generating lactic acid, and that lasts a few seconds. And if you watch a 100-meter race, by the time the guys get to about 60 or 70 meters, they're slowing down because they've run out of that energy.
Yeah.
And it's normally the guy who maintains their pace the best that wins, rather than the ones that get to 60 or 70 the quickest. Normally. There are a few exceptions, but not many. So that's the first one. And then lactic starts to kick in. So after your sort of 7 to 10 seconds of maximal energy, you have to slow down a bit because lactic's kicking in and you can't keep that pace for ad infinitum. So up to about 2 minutes, but normally at maximum effort it's about 40 seconds, which is unsurprisingly the distance of Yeah, if you're lucky. It's about the time of a men's 400 meters, so they start really struggling about 50 meters from the end.
Yeah.
The really good ones, you don't notice it, but mostly.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Women a bit earlier because they take about 50 seconds to run a 400. So that's the real lactic killer.
Wow.
And if you've experienced major lactic event, you don't want to repeat it. It hurts. So that's the anaerobic. So they don't use oxygen broadly while they're doing that. Use a bit, and certainly by the time you're finished, you're puffing and blowing.
Certainly, yeah. Not in a good way.
But they're not actually using oxygen in the muscles, which is why one of the reasons that lactic is generated, because that's kind of the waste product of burning energy in the muscles without using oxygen. And then you get to kind of what we're all used to, I guess, which is anaerobic, which is just the long, slow, a jog, a walk, a marathon. It can go from, as I said earlier in the week, a gentle stroll to an ultra marathon, and that's the whole aerobic system. So you're using oxygen all the time.
Yeah.
So and I'd never thought about it in this way before. It occurred to me that my thinking on using strength and then speed, so interval training, and then stamina, it maps completely against those three energy systems. So if you do a little of all of those, you're using each of the energy systems. It's a bit like a three-legged stool. If you don't use one, that leg will disappear and you'll be unbalanced.
Okay, so knowledge of this is useful for the God Squatters too. Even if you're not a sprinter or a 400-meter athlete, it's good to have a sense.
You don't have to be an athlete. We all use these systems.
Yeah.
It's just you have to use them occasionally just to keep them working, really.
Yes,
so
everything.
If you do a little of all of those types of exercises, that should keep you in good shape.
Very good.
You can enjoy the growing old disgracefully bit.
Good. Well, that's
bon viveurs.
The gentle fitness of bon viveurs. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So just to summarize then, strength training, anaerobic, lactic, high intensity interval training, the fartlek is anaerobic lactic, stamina training is aerobic. So my thoughts regarding training work, all the energy systems, and that kind of makes sense. As if one is ignored, the body will develop a significant weakness. So do a little of each type of activity and you'll stay in shape to enjoy the good things in life. Perfect. Thank you, Coach Turner. Thank you for your continued service with this. But it comes back to balance again, doesn't it? Well, I think we understand this more and more as we get older, don't we? That balance is the key matter, really, right?
Well, balance in everything, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And being able to balance is quite a good
thing.
Being
able to balance is also very, very good, especially when you've been enjoying delicious food at the pit stop. New Orleans cuisine. We're talking to Dan in about 15 minutes. Dan's joined us backstage. Had the most delicious food. When you come over to Silver Coast, to San Martino de Porto, Phil and Ian, do try and come either on a Wednesday meetup or a Sunday where you can come to the pit stop with me, and then we can go and visit Dan and Bev at their concession at the pit stop. We can drink beer, we can listen to live music, and we can eat wonderful food. And I've just lost the photograph for the moment of the beautiful. No, I haven't. Look, here they are.
I want to go to your Welsh cafe.
Oh, well, then you must come for the weekend or a week so we can do all of these things. This is some of Dan and Bev's cooking here. Bev makes the most exquisite cakes and special ingredient, love, for sure, in all the recipes that they are purveyors of. So we'll talk to Dan in a little while. We've got lots to get through, gentlemen, this morning. Did you find the little bit of tax talk useful? Phil, probably more prescient for you, the whole thing of having somebody taking care of your taxes both sides of the water?
Apparently I'm a bit loud, so I'm just going to turn
I only put that on the screen.
There's a microphone.
We already knew that. We already knew you were a bit loud, and I can just make we can make an adjustment here. So don't you worry about that. I'll do that. But yeah, what did you make of Dan and Tytle?
Well, I think I love disruptors. I mean, You have to remember, Amazon was a disruptor once. They're not anymore, are they?
No, right.
They're now the
They lost a lot of
mainstream.
money for about 20 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's right. I think, Al Capone got done for tax. The tax man's always going to get you. So anything that helps you deal with, and you never win the argument with the tax man because they'll just keep coming.
Well said.
They just keep coming. So you're always best off getting some half decent advice. And what he was saying sounded like quite a good idea to get some half decent advice. So I would fully support that.
Yeah.
For myself, I've taken a slightly different route. I've decided that if I have nothing, they can't tax me on it.
Yeah, that's a good approach, isn't it?
Come get me, baby.
It might not stop them
No,
trying, of course, but
oh no, they try. God bless them. No, I think it's good. I think it's about being responsible. And if we want to have a society that we like, that we enjoy, if we like the standards that we see within the towns as we drive round, if we like the fact that the rubbish is cleared up in most places and you don't see as much just stuff just lying all over the place, which is one of my problems with England and Britain at the moment, unfortunately, is everywhere you drive, there is litter everywhere. Well, if you want these services, if you want to walk into the centre of your local town and it looked beautiful with white painted buildings and fantastic roundabouts and flowers, these all take money, and the way that money is raised is through taxation. So, a level of tax has to be paid if you want these things.
It did occur to me that I'm paraphrasing here, but if tax is such a good idea, why does it have to be compulsory? But anyway, let's not get into that right now. And I do completely agree with
nobody bloody pay
it. There is something wrong with the system, isn't there? I don't think anyone would disagree with the redistribution of wealth to those and whatever needs it. It's just that we fall out, don't we, over the political means for doing that. And clearly there can be a little bit of inefficiency into the system, a little bit of friction where some of the money goes missing. And funnily enough, what you said about not having much to be taxed upon, that is what the wealthy do, isn't it? I mean, if you're a royal, for example, it looks like you've got nothing because you just go around using the houses that are all bought and paid for. People tend to buy you lunch. You don't have your own car. It's a carriage. It's a really, and I think politicians are quite similar, aren't they? They are being wined and dined. They do like a trip abroad, expenses paid. The wealthy do seem to do expenses paid rather than earn money the hard way and then part with a bit of it at the end of the process.
I heard a very interesting story about someone who'd just recently been elected as the leader of a certain council.
Yeah.
Their expenses budget is £55,000 a year. Their expenses budget, so they obviously can't be taxed.
Right.
Well,
that's to play with.
And that's not high, and it's not a big council or anything, that's a small one.
Wouldn't be different.
Most MPs' expenses are over 100k.
It's incredible, isn't it? And politics would change immediately, wouldn't it? If you had to have an entrepreneurial mindset to generate your expenses budget rather than it becoming straight out. Anyway, let's not get into that. We're having a good Friday.
That's too serious.
It's Feel Good Friday, not to piss everybody off before the weekend.
Yeah, quite. Please don't get my missus started on the tax system. We could be here all weekend, says Bike Andy. California is the worst. So happy we left, says Global Nobles. And sorry I didn't get to this in time. In the US, if you have a house, interest paid on the loan can be written off. If you have a house here in Portugal, would interest be on the loan written off? I think you should get in touch with Dan. I'll introduce you to Dan for sure. Global Nobles. However, Pete's coming back with an answer, I think. No, not about clearing his land. Someone else was. You should declare the interest paid according to the bank declaration in the yearly tax declaration of the IRS, so you can have some bonus on that. So a little bit of help coming in. We've got Sarah Taylor joining us this morning. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Ocean Dweller, bon fin de semaine. Look, from Madeira. It's a beautiful morning in Funchal. May I share good news? Aviva from you, Ocean Dweller. Do let me know if that's appropriate. And we're hanging out with our buddies this morning. Dan will be joining us soon. And we've got, because Dan was with us, we missed some of the earlier content, which I'd like to go through with you, gentlemen, if I may. PT Country Bear is here. Bon dia alegria. The day after the Dia de Spiga yesterday. Anna in Serpa. Bobby's here as well, tuned in. And Carpe Diem joined us. Bon dia from a windy Travanza de Mondego. Good morning to you, Carpe Diem. And that's a good intention and spirit, isn't it? Carpe diem, seize the day. Ola Bondi from Baddie, still no escrow. I can't believe this. The bank promises they have finished rectifying the errors in the paperwork now at version 20, waiting for the call. Almost 14. That's a long lunch break, isn't it? 14 months in, and suddenly we have Phil disappearing. Some spooky goings on this morning. By Andy. Heidi Gumpers here for a good time, not a long time. Have a fantastic fin tomorrow. And we've got some events from Andy a little bit later on. Owen's in too with a Dream Team Friday.
Owen.
Everybody, hi Owen. Good morning to you, mate. Now, where I'm looking for T-Ducks. Oh, here we go. Let's go through these now. Deep thought of the day then. Let's ponder this, shall we? While it's just you and me here, Coach Turner. A nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of the people, Mahatma Gandhi. And I think that's certainly true. You can see that here in Portugal, can't you? So true. We can get carried away, can't we, with the political leanings of a country. But really, the culture is in the people, of course. Well said. Yeah, absolutely right. Oh, and how's Rebel Mama? She's with you, right? Or has been?
No, she left us yesterday lunchtime, so she's touring the central London at the moment.
Fantastic.
So,
Okay.
yeah, she was in great form.
Excellent stuff. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist and political ethicist who used non-violent resistance to lead a successful campaign for India's independence from British rule.
There is a statue of or a bust of him in Funchal.
Oh yes, I think you sent me a photograph of it.
I sent you a photo. Yeah. He just looked like Yoda.
Yes, yeah. And this was the thing about the way Phil was saying, his approach to tax is to have nothing. It was the same, I think, with Gandhi, wasn't it? Is that the British found him so difficult to deal with? Because how do you fight a man who has nothing, who fears nothing? Non-violent resistance, a great message there this morning. Thank you, T-Duck, for that. And a little bit of a Portuguese saying, ao bom varão, terás alheios petração. To the good man, foreign lands are homeland. How about that? That's a pretty good motto to have for our Portugal Immigrant Network, isn't it? The PIN, very good. I'll be lifting that and putting that on that part of the website later on. The Quem Sabia today then, Coach T. Portugal is home to 17 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. How many have you visited? Let's find out. Here's the list in order of first acceptance. Excellent. I'm going to try you with this then, Coach T. Central zone of Angra de Herismo in the Azores. Have you been to the Azores yet?
Not to be into the Azores. It's on the list.
Me neither. What about the Convent of Christ in Tamar? Have you been to that one?
No, not been to Tamar.
We've got to go there. I have been to that one, and it's fantastic. The monastery at Batalha, been there?
No.
I have been there with Jerry from Expats Portugal. We've been there. A monastery of the Hieronymites and the Tower of Belém in Lisbon.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. The Ajuda Palace is amazing at Belém as well, of course.
Yeah.
Phil's back to join in. Oh, no, he's not. He's just going around in circles.
There he is.
Oh, here he is. He's back again. You there, Phil?
Oh, technology. You've got to love it.
Only kidding. Right.
I decided I'd move away from my traditional Samsung phones and went for a Google Pixel Pro 6.
Ooh,
don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. This phone today, it just suddenly said, your phone's getting a little hot. Some functions may not work, and it just shut down.
Well, us sexy people have that all the time, Phil. Of course, when you look to a phone, your phone says you're looking hot or I'm feeling hot. Okay. Let me just quickly backtrack then. We're talking about the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. How many have we been to? Okay. So have you been to the Azores? Have you been to the Azores? Or the Azores?
No.
Okay. Have you been to the Convent of Christ in Tamar?
I have been to Tamar. I'm not sure I went to the Convent of Christ. Though there were some who were swearing at me almost certainly.
You'd have seen it up on the hill. The monastery of Batalha. Yeah, okay. The monastery of the Hieronymites and the Tower of Belém in Lisbon.
Yes.
Very good. You're ticking a few boxes here. The historic centre of Évora. You've been to Évora, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't. Yeah. Well done, you two. The monastery at Alcobaça?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Coach T, we're going there next time you come. Cultural landscape of Sintra. Have you been to Sintra, Ian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. You're well travelled, better than me, I think, at this point in the quiz. A historic centre of Porto.
Yep.
No, shame on me.
Shame on
me.
you.
It's a gap in my education, which will be put right shortly, hopefully.
Yeah, and we've got all of this to look forward to, haven't we? I mean, this is
Yes.
an appetizing list. The prehistoric rock art sites of the Coa Valley and Ciega Verde. I've not even heard of that one.
No.
I have been to a prehistoric site, but that was near Everett. I can't remember what it's called now.
I thought that was going to be a joke for a minute.
No. Sorry about that.
That's certain
They were
expat
burning off lactic acid in a big way.
Yeah.
There are certain bars. There are certain bars in the Algarve that are called prehistoric sites. But let's not get into that. The Lori Silva.
Isn't that the man cave?
That's just their views. the Lori Silva at Madeira. Have you been to? You obviously have, Coach T.
Yeah.
To prove it. I've
been to Madeira.
You have.
Yeah.
Okay. The Alto Douro wine region. Have you been there?
Oh yeah.
No, my wife has.
Okay, very good.
You've got to get up there.
Guimarães. Have you been to Guimarães?
No.
I don't know. I think I
I've
have, but I'm not certain. I'd have to put it as a not sure. May I?
Isn't it great? There's so many lovely things here. Sometimes we're not even sure if we've been there or not. Ian, the royal building of Mafra, the palace, the basilica, the convent, the Celico garden and hunting park, the Tapada.
No, not done that.
What about you, Phil? Mafra?
No.
That's where they got the library with the bats in, I think. The Sanctuary of Bon Jesus de Mont in Braga. Have you been to Braga?
No.
So one of my plans for next year possibly is to do a road trip.
Yes.
I know I know that's popular among you guys. But we've done a deal with the Pestana Hotel Group. It's kind of like a I guess
a season ticket.
Oh, what they call it? Yeah, it's kind of like a season ticket. And Pestana run a lot of the Posadas.
Yes.
Up and down Portugal. So we're going to do a tour of Posadas up and down Portugal.
What a lovely idea. So Pestana Posada. You say tomato, I say tomato, Posada. Okay. So I'm hastily looking that up now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The
okay.
Pestana group, I think,
that's a lovely idea.
Biggest hotel group in Portugal. So
very
they
good.
They started in Madeira.
All right.
Most of Madeira.
So that sounds wonderful, and hoping you'll keep us updated along that trip. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I making Dan wait until 9:30? Let's bring him on now. He's sat there watching.
Just about. I've got to go in about 5 minutes time.
All right. Okay. So Coach T's leaving about 5. Dan is here now. Dan, good morning.
Hi, Dan.
To you.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Hi.
We're doing great. We're having a lovely time.
All the better for seeing you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm all the better for
I have that effect. Yeah.
Well, I was all the better for eating your delicious food. We met last Sunday. Bev shouted out to me from your wonderful place of beautiful food creation at the pit stop. Soul Finesse is how you trade. There you are last Sunday, and this is the plate of food that I had. My in-laws were over, and I was going to say, this sounds bad, but I fancied a bit of comfort food. Nothing. I wanted to share it with the whole family, this beautiful food here. We see in front of us here, don't we, some beautiful fried fish, cornbread. I had never had sweet cornbread with a main course. Mac and cheese, macaroni cheese, and some beans and rice there. It was amazing, really delicious. Looking forward to seeing you again this Sunday. Yes. How did you get to be here in Portugal, and what possessed you to start your wonderful Soul Finesse operation here?
Oh man, it's just been an incredible journey, lifelong. Military was how I got here the first time. 1988, I was on a med cruise, and we came to Portugal, and I had a great time, as a young sailor would in Portugal. You know, he got about a month worth of pay in his pocket, and all he wants to do is drink beer and eat sandwiches, and the rest is, to be left
Private.
in Vegas. You know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So that's a young sailor. We met some incredible people here in Portugal as a young man. I was highly influenced by just the charm of Portugal, the natural well-being and humanity of them all. And anyway, they really impressed me as a young fella. So moving forward, 30 some odd years.
Dan, can I stop you there? Are you happy to share the anecdote you shared with me? Is that appropriate for you to do about when you were a sailor having a great time and making your way back to the ship?
Oh, you mean the taxi guy?
Yes. Are you happy to talk about? Because I think
absolutely.
That story is so beautiful.
Okay. So if you can imagine, you know, it's three of us, and we're a small knit group, but we're highly intelligent in how to move around the city real quick and go and have a lot of fun on the cheap. So we wind up spending all of our money. We're almost at the end of time to get back on the ship. That's usually around about midnight, 2 o'clock. So we're dead broke. And we're really far away from the ship, so we've got to catch a cab. Yeah. So the plan is hop in a cab, and as soon as he gets us there, jump and run, and run out of there. Right? Right, that was the plan anyway. But the cabbie during the drive, he talked to us, and he asked so many questions about the ship, and it wasn't that kind of interrogatory kind of questioning where he was like a terrorist or anything. It was just friendly conversation. But and I like the way he talked about how he was impressed with the military and what we did as a whole for the world. And anyway, we get to the ship, and the plan is still on, jump out and run. And I'm a little bit reluctant because I'm a bit of a good guy, but my buddies are all in for it. So one of them bolts. He jumps right out of the car, and the taxi driver says, "Stop, don't run." And he has the most honest statement right after that. He said, "Look at you. If you run, they'll think you stole from me." That's what he said to us. And I thought that was very kind. And we didn't. He said, "I wouldn't have charged you anyway. Just go to the ship. I'm not charging." Wow. Yeah. And that was very impressive. So fast forward, my wife and I are trying to find a way to retire. And I've retired since from the military, but I just wanted to keep working. I was only 38 when I retired, from the military. So I became a cop for a short while. My wife, oh man, she's great. She at a hairdresser, she started my career in the oil field. At a hairdresser, yeah. At a hairdresser, yeah. She met a headhunter's girlfriend, and the girlfriend said, "Yeah, I want your husband to meet my boyfriend." And he was a headhunter for a major oil field company. Anyway, he got me started in the oil field, and I was picked for a program that was it was sort of a prototype for that company, and I took a year's worth of training as a oil field supervisor in training, and then started in the oil field, and basically went on with that for about 7 years. Got out of that, went into the federal government doing the same thing in the oil field, but as an inspector, and then started a little small inspection team of my own, and got in with a great company, and since then I've retired and come over to Portugal. And like I said, my wife pointed out we could go to Portugal. And I said, if we can go to Portugal, let's go now.
Wow.
Yeah.
No missing. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. And our deep thought of the day today, Dan, thank you for that. Yes. Our nation's culture resides in the hearts and soul of the people. I think you dropped off, Phil, at that point. But the story you tell there is a really Portuguese one, I think. And it sounded like, that kindness. Yes. You're back here responding to that kindness that has resonated for 2 or 3 decades. It happened in the late 80s, was it, or 90s?
Absolutely. Yeah. 1988.
Yeah, incredible. And that made its mark on you, didn't it? A gesture.
It did.
A regular guy. Don't run, they'll think you've robbed me. I mean, it's so thoughtful, so beautiful, and a free trip as well thrown in.
Absolutely.
And then how did you get into the food? And on the note, we got some to talk about the food here, because we've got Must Come and See Bev, and it's Dan, actually, not Dave. As a Florida native, we had lots of New Orleans food and went to New Orleans often. I really want some fish or chicken and red beans and rice ever. So they can certainly do that. How did you get into doing that here in Portugal?
Okay, so in my journey here in Portugal, we've only been here 2 years. We landed and got our feet wet in December, beautiful December,
Yeah.
and that's where we kind of planted our feet, and from there we started living in Portugal. Start living, not being tourists, but really getting involved in the culture, meeting the people, trying to learn the language, which is still unattainable yet. But the beauty of it is, we went from Sesimbra, walking along the beautiful beaches of Sesimbra. I met a football player, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm headed to Lisbon to go play football." And I see these young men, he jogs around the neighborhood all the time. I say, "Hey, I'm following you over to Lisbon. You guys are playing American football?" He said, "Yeah, absolutely, American football." Like it was nothing. I said, "We're in Portugal." So anyway, I hop in the car, me and my wife, and we go over to this game. We sit there. Within 15 minutes, I'm talking to the GM of the team that my neighbor is playing against, the opposing team. And that coach or that GM recruited me to be a defensive coordinator for him. And shortly after that, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, I became the head coach. And that team is the Lisboa Lions here in Lisbon, right off of in the Old Bellachel area. And my wife wanted to feed the young men. And it brought us back to the days of when I was in the military. And the single sailors are the most vulnerable people in the world, military people in the world. God, I love them. But when they are single during the holidays, they are missing their family culture, their family, connection, and that love. And I saw that in a suicide that I witnessed while I was in the military. So from that point on, we just wanted to make sure that folks were taken care of, because during the holidays, it's the highest period of suicide rate for the military. And
missing family.
It's their first time away from home. They've been traumatized in boot camp, and then now they've had their first experience of being away from home, and they're thousands of miles away from home, perhaps on some ship or whatever. But the one thing that they gravitate to is the companionship of family.
Absolutely. And they've got to feel like they've got to tough it out, I guess, and that makes it even more difficult. I think Coach Turner's on his way out into the world.
Yeah, I got to go. Right, so great to meet you, Dan.
Yes, Coach. Be good.
I've got a family thing.
Yeah.
All right, of course. You've got to go.
Well,
thanks.
Obviously.
Thank you for your service. Take care. Bon fin de semana.
Ciao.
Okay, Coach.
Well, we'll continue this conversation here. But I was hoping to ask Dan if these gentlemen here, both Phil and Coach Turner, have been rugby players in their time. Would it be a good transition for them to go into American football now? Because as you get older, the protective gear might be a bit more helpful, right?
Yeah. So you mean are you talking specifically for Phil and Coach to go into the game?
Yes.
Yeah, they want to get the blow up bubble that is 6 feet wide that goes around your entire body. And that's what they want to go out there with. When they show up on the field, they say, "Hey, I want to try out." Then they start pumping up this bubble to get inside of to go out there and play. That's what they're going to be.
Yeah, but you see, you got to remember, Dan, when we were playing rugby, there's no padding. There's metal studs and none. But the hits are different and they're not as hard. It's a violent game, but it's not as violent. I mean, the hits in American football, you're only one headshot away from stupidity for the rest of your life, really. It's a truly violent game.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm a Packers fan. I'm a great big go Pack go guy. I love it.
For years, football players were taught to use this to start their hit.
Yeah.
This is the first place of contact, and then you drove your arms around that person and you just tried to crush them. You did, but this was always the first place of contact with the front part of your head. And that helmet, if you tuck it just a little too low, you're gonna get that crown part of your head.
Yeah.
So the impact was these things that we're talking about in football. They were inevitable. They just were
incredible,
inevitable.
And so you are. You're training. You've moved to Portugal, and you find yourself a passing American football player leads you to his team.
Yeah.
And you get involved in the team, and Bev wants to feed those guys as well.
Yeah.
It comes back to this whole love thing, doesn't it, of looking after. that you
Yeah,
mentioned.
it brought us back to the time when we were taking care of the sailors, and we would host these lunches and dinners, holiday dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners, and we'd feed the sailors as many of them as we could. And the first class association or chief association or the officer association would always contribute money in to help these sailors feel more, taken care of, rather than sitting in the barracks and watching the parades back home and that they're missing, and they're missing their family. And it can be really, really bad for some of these kids. Some of these kids can't find their way out of that, and that's where the suicides happen. Yeah. So what we would do, we'd create these dinners for them, have them come over to our living quarters, which we had a big hall downstairs, and we invite them in there and feed them, and just feed them and love on them and take care of them, let them laugh. We let them watch, turn the TVs on and watch the games, and they could drink beer, and no one really, the neighbors didn't complain because they knew what we were doing and they knew it was a good thing.
Oh, lovely.
So, yeah. So that has now stemmed into the football players that I coached when we were at the Lisboa Lions. My wife would cook food for them, and they say, they started calling it Auntie Beth. And she started cooking food for them, and we would sell them the food at discount, and then hopefully get the crowd to, get involved in buying food, and then that could help us to be able to help the team more. That lasted about a year. The team also won their first game in about 12 years. Go Lions. Go Lions.
Go Lions. Yeah.
Lions.
And this
12 years was the history of the team when I got there, and they had not won a game. And we had a coach came in. His name was Paulo. He's a great guy. And with him and my coaching and just a team effort of coaches and ideas and great plays, we came up with a way to get a win. And at a most unfortunate time in my life, I was away from their first win. I was actually at home and seeing to my father-in-law's passing. They called me from there.
Oh, wow.
From here and reached out to me and let me know that, hey, we won our first game, Coach. We did it for you. It brought me to tears. And I was in a low point because my father-in-law, I loved him greatly. He was a good man. And it was, and they gave that back to me. What they did then when they called me was they gave back everything that I'd given them. My wife has given them, our love has given them, and they gave me back love. And it was a beautiful yin and yang moment for me.
I want to see the film, don't you, Phil, of this? This is so beautiful, isn't it? The team that wins for the first time in 12 years. And Dan gets the call on the phone to tell him his father-in-law is passing away. What a beautiful story.
Yeah. And these kids have really just, they've embraced my wife and I here. We've just flourished here with new contacts. They love Bev's cornbread. By the way, Carl,
I've got to ask you about cornbread.
That cornbread is not a cake. It's not a cake.
It is.
You said, this is the greatest cake. And I said, Carl, that's not
I'm
cake.
sorry.
That's
I do not mean to offend. It's not a
no, not in any way.
It's certainly not a criticism. Well, let's talk about cornbread for a minute and your wonderful cooking, because of course, being an expat, it's not a war zone. It's not the military, of course. People are moving here by choice. However, that said, people can feel sad and lonely at times. Yeah. And you seem to have transferred what Bob is calling this great approach, and he's absolutely loving the conversation this morning. Good morning to you, Bob and Viv. You've brought it to the expats, haven't you? Well, to everybody. You're doing it here in Portugal, so everyone can enjoy the food. But for somebody who's missing home, to bite on the cornbread and have a familiar flavour would be, throughout this conversation, my heart has been swelling and tears have been in my eyes. And I'm sure that's what might happen when some people feast on your beautiful food. And as I said before, secret recipe, there's love in there, isn't there, from Bev?
There's a lot of that.
When you make it. So, cornbread then. Let's have a look. Apparently, I have been told off already, it's not cake. But here you go. Leave me net saying this. Hola, y'all. Just woke up and thought I'd take a peek. Cornbread isn't cake, Carl. Okay,
it's not cake. It's not cake. And Carl, you said it was such vigor that it's just lovely cake.
That's with a British accent.
That's
almost like King Charles himself saying, this is delightful cake.
Yeah. King Charles would say it's a lovely cake, and Ray Charles would say that's cornbread.
I know who I'd prefer to hang out with.
Ray Charles would say, I can't believe the man called that a cake. But it's all in fun, though. All in fun.
over 5,000 years old. I was seeing references to it. Take care. When we were in the ancient temples of Egypt, sweetened bread. Pretty much all of them are now. What's this? In the strictest sense of the word, it is cake. Okay, well, let's not fall out over this.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah,
Pete, more like bread is how you eat it. Soaks up the juices of the food you eat it with. The sweetness varies from who cooks it. My mum's style wasn't as sweet. She was from Arkansas. Phil, have you tried? I mean, you've traveled America, haven't you? Do you like the cornbread?
I do. I really do.
it is good.
And on this Jaffa cake or biscuit, guys. You know what can I say?
Don't
Cake
stop
or biscuit.
that.
And Dan, the love thing, it's absolutely right. And
Yeah.
the thing is, once you know you've got what you need to give to others, just seems like the logical next step to do.
It is.
To provide to others, so because you get so much back from that. Whenever we're coaching or training, you get so much back. I know Carl gets so much back when he sees somebody come on here that he probably helped to come. You know, maybe we saw his show when we were coming to Portugal. You know, it is a great feeling. There's not a warmer feeling on the planet than knowing that you've had some small impact on somebody's journey along the way.
Yes, well said. Well said, Phil. Yeah, thank you. Joy D, met Dan and Bev here in Portugal when they catered Thanksgiving dinner for you're going to be booked forever for Thanksgiving dinners, aren't you? 125 people in November 21. Gracious host, great food, and so generous with time.
Yeah.
We've got a question from T Duck who wants to ask you, have you been to the Palmains? I mentioned this to you, didn't I? My great friend T Duck overlooks a sports club and they train American football there. Are you familiar with Palmains?
No, I haven't met those guys.
Okay, that's where they play American football there on a Sunday. Look at this, cornbread memories. I'd like to have a taste comparison between Viv's cornbread, that's Mrs. Wenger there, and yours, Dan, though she's having a hard time finding the jalapenos I like. So how is it finding the ingredients for these wonderful creations?
Oh, well, plug out to the Liberty store. There's some great places you can go and you know, get some things that are just American. We go to Liberty store. That's where we go.
Liberty store. So shouldn't be.
Yeah, they're in Lisbon.
Okay, good stuff. And I just want to show the picture of your food again, if I may, with the cornbread that's there. This is what you can eat at Pit Stop on a Sunday. And book these guys up, Dan and Bev, for a Thanksgiving booking or other American food special. And you've got into the vegan thing as well, then, Dan. How did that happen? Is that a normal thing to go with New Orleans food, vegan cookery?
Well, you know, food changes with the times. You know, in New Orleans, they are the best at adjusting to the culture around them. And vegan came out. They came out with some great vegan foods. You know, so a place that cooks food as well as the folks out of New Orleans. And my wife she's a native of Louisiana. She grew up in Metairie, so her cooking style is that of everyone in New Orleans. Just about all of them really cook the same, but it is the most incredible style of cooking. You can see them fry a turkey. You should see a fried turkey.
I would like to see that. Wouldn't you, Phil?
Yeah, we're going to be frying turkeys, hopefully, for Thanksgiving dinner that we're planning on having at the Pit Stop.
Really? So
we're talking about it now.
At the Pit Stop.
We're trying to talk about it now. It may not be something that comes to fruition because that does take quite a bit of planning. But we're going to see if we can shortcut a few things and maybe give a taste of a Thanksgiving of some sort. Yeah.
All right. I'd like to talk to you about that. But what is the vegan wrap? What is in the vegan wrap?
Well, Bev tells me, and I don't really dabble in her recipes because she literally has a apron that says "Your opinion is not a part of my recipe." So she literally has that apron. So I don't really dabble in her recipes, but I know she has like jackfruit that she has just mastered
jackfruit
that flavor, just pop in it. She's got something. Satine.
Come on, can Bev be honest? She's there, isn't she? Is she not going to join us on the screen?
She really can't.
Okay, all right.
She really can't because it's pretty early in the morning, and I'm looking at Bev, and this is like
maybe. Okay, sorry, Bev. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I'm having a great.
See you on Sunday. We'll see
Yeah.
you on Sunday. And so T-Duck's up for that. Jackfruit is excellent. It approximates to the pulled pork, doesn't it? Jackfruit.
Yes. And she can do a jackfruit that looks just like a pulled pork. She also uses banana blossoms.
Wow.
We use various mushrooms that we can fry or bake or cook off.
Look at this. Swooning at the thought of fried turkey. Who would have thought it, hey, Phil? And cornbread and greens or fresh blackened peas. Saturday or Sunday, he's ready. Sunday, we'll see you there, T-Duck. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a Gumper gathering. I'm going to talk more about Gumper gatherings. But, Phil, this is a really good point for you to mention this one thing. Because your opinion is not part of my recipe. It's quite good life advice, isn't it, for people who are manifesting? We don't necessarily need to get into the thoughts of others whilst we're baking our delightful recipe for life ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. What I can tell you is this. I came across the late, great Jim Rohn a few years ago now. And he came up with this one. He came up with many theories, a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
He came up with this one, which is a simple line, and it's the hardest one to master, in my humble opinion. It is this. If you don't let it bother you, who's it going to bother?
Very good.
Not
Which
you.
is
Wise man.
a clever line. Because most of what we carry with us, most of the burdens that we carry with us are other people's opinions of what we are or what we're doing. And if we get rid of them, just lighten our load a little bit,
Here.
just be us. You feel better, but B, all those people around you, you start attracting like-minded people into your life. And that was a big thing on our dream boards above me. We've got our dream boards or wish boards or vision boards. You can call them what you like. And one of the squares up there says like-minded friends, because we want to spend time with like-minded friends. And I had a big shout out to Pete, who had a Eurovision song contest party at the weekend. I haven't watched the Eurovision Song Contest since I worked out it was 1975. It was the year after when Bing Banger Bong won it. And I thought any song that's called Bing Banger Bong can win a competition. I'm not going to watch this anymore. But Pete was so friendly. We had a whole load of people there. It was a fantastic day, and I thank him very much. I know he's on. I just wanted to take the time to say thank you. He has been a good friend since I've been in Portugal. He and Diane, we met so many wonderful people.
Whilst we're talking about Pete, and we'll come back to this because look, the people are chiming with Jim Rohn and Dan and Bev here. This is the sunrise. Pete had a nice rise this morning, and look from the deck. Look at the colour of that sky, absolutely beautiful. Cheers, Pete.
Gorgeous.
Look at that, isn't it? It's a painting, isn't it? But no painting is going to do that justice. This wonderful sunrise over in Fundão, Castelo Branco region of Portugal. Thank you. Video to come from the Alentejo from Anna as well. Hanging out here with Dan from Soul Finesse. There's a little bit of controversy. Your flyer says Saturday. Are you there both? Are you at Pit Stop all weekend, both Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. And to be honest with you, I have the menu right here in front of me.
Oh, tell us about it, Dan.
Just to run through it real quick. On Saturday, we're gonna have oven barbecue chicken on a stick, fried chicken legs and wings, Southern style fried fish, and a vegan wrap.
See you there. I might come both days. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. No, I haven't went over Sunday yet. Sorry, just a little more time.
Okay.
And from what Bev passed on to me on Sunday is that we will have. Let's see here. Oh, wait. Here.
I don't care. I'm coming anyway.
You're coming.
It'll be delicious anyway. It's absolutely fine. I will look forward to seeing you then. That's probably when we'll come. And then maybe a bit of music at the wonderful Pit Stop venue here in San Martino de Porto. This one thing, Phil, lovely connection there. We've got the love vibes this morning. We got the food and these ideas. I mean, whoever thought that you said, I'm going to feed some lonely sailors for the weekend and they're going to drink. A lot of people have said, no, you don't want to be doing that. It's going to be trouble. But they're Bev and Dan stepping in and doing that. You're stepping into people's lives, Phil, with this one thing. I know your first cohort, I think maybe have graduated by now on your first course. Tell us more about that.
They have the most wonderful group from America, from UK. It's this one thing course is it's more workshop We keep the numbers incredibly small deliberately. If it gets full, we move you to the next one, because what we found was we wanted to do an online course live, but we wanted to be able for people to connect. The problem with online courses is there's this disconnect. You don't feel a part of it. Now, we three are in this room here and we're connecting. We're connecting on a very personal level, talking about stuff. When you're in a room and you're on a training session with anything over 10 people, I like 6. If you're one of the 6, you're going to be involved in the training, and that's what it was for us. So these 6 people went through 6 weeks, an hour and a half, and the idea of the course is it's all about most people say, look, if I could just do this one thing right now, my whole life would be different. And it's about explaining how to get to this one thing and then applying it to everything in your life. It's about how your thoughts become things. It's about how your emotions and your beliefs are sure indicators of what is good and what needs help within where you are. It's about how where you are now is how because of what you were thinking before now.
Yes.
And if you want a different future, well, if you change the thinking now, what's going to happen to the future? It's going to be different. And the course is all about that. Again, this course wasn't about really generating income or anything like that. It's about, okay, we'll set it low. We'll set the price low. And people say, no, you should be charging lots. I said, no. I said, I could give it away, but my problem is if I give it away, what value do you put on something that is free?
Yeah, fascinating.
It's very different. It is. You know, I'm no different. Oh, you gave me this for free. What do I think? Oh, it's lovely, but what value have I put on it?
Yeah.
So you have to have something that puts some value on it. But I think we'll do a payback scheme going forwards. I like this idea of paying forward, so that when you complete, how you then become a part of the group and how you bring others in. I don't know where it's going to take me, but it's something that I want to do. Also, I'm approaching a very large birthday, apparently. Well, I'm large anyway, so every birthday's quite large. And I just thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to come out right now. I'm coming out, Carl.
Wow! Thank you for sharing that news first. Yes.
At the age of 60, let me finish my sentence.
Right, okay.
At the age of 60, I'm coming out to tell you that I am having a career change. I have decided that I want to do stand-up comedy, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to start at the age of 60, taking baby steps. It's going to be my one thing. I'm going to start taking baby steps towards getting up on stage and doing a comedy set live. And we'll see where it takes us in the next 5 years, just because it would be great fun to do. Something I've always wanted to do.
This is what I'm hearing already. Phil's on stage, plenty of this, and a lot of this. How about that? Well, thank you for sharing that with us here. That is wonderful, wonderful news. A couple of minutes to go. I'd love to hear a sign off from both of you, like final thoughts as we go into the weekend. And I wanted to include as well, and thank you for telling us about Kuwudu and the course there, Phil, as well. If people want more information, go to kuwudu.info to work directly with you. And it's only right, isn't it, that you have your one thing, which is, of course, now becoming a stand-up comedian. I'm delighted to hear that. And you might get in touch with Tamakatan, who's here in Portugal. Do you know he does a set in Portuguese now? He couldn't speak Portuguese.
That must be something. I mean, it must be so difficult to gauge you can gauge an audience when you're talking to somebody in your home language and they speak your home language. You can gauge the reaction you're getting. To do it in another language and try and gauge whether you've even said the words correctly.
Yes. Well, he doesn't know. They might be laughing at his Portuguese, which has added value.
It's courage.
He doesn't know that, does he? Right. So, Dan, just to go back quickly to Thanksgiving. We're launching Discover Portugal weekends. We want to do one of these every weekend from September, where the Gumpers come together in a different place in Portugal. So maybe, just maybe, we could do the November one when Thanksgiving is, if I remember rightly, in San Martino de Porto, and tie in with a Thanksgiving dinner, maybe. So maybe we can talk about that on Sunday. But the idea is that people arrive on a Friday night, choice of accommodation to suit your wallet and your purse and your pocket. Then we meet up on Friday night, Saturday for a bit of lunchy thing, go for a tour Saturday afternoon, have a mighty old, as we say in the UK, piss up on the Saturday night with entertainment. Sunday morning breakfast, somewhat muted perhaps after the partying on Saturday night. Sunday, a local tour in the afternoon, and then drift away. Looking forward to the next one the month after. If you want to be a host for one of these anywhere in Portugal, Portimao needs to be on the list, Ponte Lima needs to be on the list, Porto, Lisbon, and maybe San Martino de Porto for November. So we can talk about that and have some amazing American food for that particular meetup. So we're 1 minute past 10. I'm keeping you unnecessarily here. I'm sorry to run over time, but can I have
it's quite all right.
It's been lovely to meet you and have you on the show, Dan. You're welcome anytime. Great to have you back, Phil, and with an update from you. And I've got another meme on the screen here, which I posted up on Facebook last year. We can't separate our way to togetherness. That's my contribution as we go into a bon fin de semana. Can I have some words of wisdom from you both as well? Let's start with you, Dan. How would you like to see people off into the weekend this weekend?
Oh, man. Well, I woke up to a beautiful morning, and that's a blessing for me. In that blessing, I want to make sure that I take the time to be a better human today. That's all I want to do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for being here. See you Sunday, my friend. Excellent. Yes. And Phil from Kubudu.
Just when you're walking down the street over the weekend, just smile at everybody you see.
Oh,
you'll feel better. They will.
That. Oh, how wonderful. And further life advice, you need to have cornbread with jalapenos to really appreciate cornbread. Sweet cornbread is from up north. That conversation and controversy will continue, and I will forever be that British guy who calls cornbread cake. I'm going to have to face
it's
that.
Cake, mate. You're right.
We probably need to have a cornbread meetup.
Yes, let's do that.
Different styles of cornbread.
Let's settle this once and for all.
I've got a rosemary cornbread. I've got a jalapeno cornbread. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All different types of cornbread.
I think that's a week-long residential by the sound of it. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great weekend. We're going into the Iberian FM phone-in now with a little bit of video from Alentejo and some events from Bairrada. And we're talking about the Bilderberg group as well. Let's see if we can decode and understand what's going on in Lisbon at the moment with the Bilderbergs. Dan, thank you. Phil, thank you. Big round of applause for you.
An honor. Thank you.
Take care. And bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Buon fin de semana.
Ciao, ciao.
Well, I better get my phone if this is a phone in, although I can't see it anywhere. Mrs. M, help! I can't see my phone. I think maybe it's upstairs in the bathroom still, was the last time I saw it. Anyway, we've got lots to talk about this morning, and we've got some video to play you by way of a... Oh, thank you so much, Mrs. M. Here it is. No, that's good service. Thank you very much. She's back, everybody. Okay, and a coffee. Yes, I would love one. Thank you very much. Yeah, coffee would be fantastic. Or tea, anything, any hot drink this morning. Here, I would prefer a nice one of those lovely creamy coffees you do with a little bit of honey in it. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, let's see what is being said about our guest from Good Morning Portugal in deep Florida. It was cracklins. What are cracklins? This debate is going nowhere. Sarah Yerman, jalapenos would be a Texan adaptation. And we'd be up for hosting a GMP meetup weekend in the Ponte Lima area. Thank you, Bob. I was hoping you'd say that. Fantastic. And it was great meeting you and Kimberly at Pete's on Saturday, Phil. Great stuff. And any more cake and cornbread controversy here? Squire of the Shires giving us a round of applause. Is that on entry or exit? Squire of the Shires, stick around. I know you do like a bit of Iberian FM phoning. let's take a bit of a breather and watch some beautiful video that's come in before we have a look at some of those events in the Bairrada region, which you can find on the Gumper map. And then we'll get into the Bilderberg group and see what's what, because they're meeting in Lisbon in these next few days. Where's your video, Anna? Here it is. Here's the first one, a couple of minutes of beautiful Alentejan countryside. This is fantastic.
I have arrived the town of Serpa. It's in the Alentejo. I have never seen so many olive trees in my whole life at once. And I came to this amazing view spot. We can walk over to the other end, which is just the same amazing view. Have a chapel over there. Would you believe it's so quiet? I'm actually the only one here. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. I drove here from Villarreal de Santo Antonio today. It's about 24 degrees, perfect weather for doing some tourist scenes.
Absolutely beautiful. I'm well chilled after seeing that. Thank you, Anna, very much for that. So that's the exterior. Serpa in the Alentejo. I think other Serpas are available around the country. That's absolutely delightful. Let's change the atmosphere. Isn't it? Let's have a look at an interior now over in the Alentejo. Thank you. Second video from Anna. Isn't that lovely as well? Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you, everybody who sends things in to us. These are spillovers from the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. But send anything you have, not but, and send anything you have to 913-590-303. Let me do that again. It is the country code 00351 if you're using WhatsApp and you're outside of Portugal. And then my WhatsApp here in Portugal, 913-590-303. Bom dia from Serpa in Alentejo, Anna says, a city from the 13th century. Stumbled into a music museum. Turns out, and that's what happens. You stumble into things here in Portugal. You're having a wander about. You're in that beautiful countryside. And then look, around the corner here is a music museum. It turns out that Cante Alentejano, an old singing style of poetry text, is on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Talking of which, we have had UNESCO talk from T-Duck this morning, and I missed out one section of that wonderful list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 17 of them in Portugal. And I'm sure you'll have been shouting at the screen saying, yeah, I've been to that one. Oh, no, I haven't been to that one. Never heard of that one. Yes, mean to go to that one. The one that I missed out was a little list here of landscape of the Pico Island vineyard culture. That would be Açores, wouldn't it? The garrison border town of Elvas, which isn't dead, and its fortifications, so Elvas, and the University of Coimbra, Alta and Sofia, I think I'm right in saying there. So the University of Coimbra as well. That completes the list. How many of those had you been to? I think some people haven't been to any of them, or just one of them. So lots to do here in Portugal. A lovely list. If you're looking for a trip around Portugal, that would make a pretty nice structure for a visit around or a road trip around Portugal, would it not? Excellent this morning. Thank you so much, Anna, then, for those two videos. We also have more talk of cornbread. You should make a T-shirt saying the cornbread controversy continues here. British guy calls cornbread cake. You should make a T-shirt saying this is cornbread, not cake. Yes. Who knew? Carl Munson, not finding your phone, your keys, or your spectacles is called aging. Yes, thank you very much for that, João Ferreira. Okay, and yes, hosting suggestions already for the wonderful discovery weekends that we're looking forward to having all around the country. One a month, probably the second weekend of every month. Get together. An easygoing schedule, but making sure we make the most of the location that we're in with the food, the wine, and the culture, and meeting local tour guides and hosts, meeting old friends, old gumpers, and making new ones as well. Discover Portugal coming soon, September of 2023. And I think places along the end too as well. Look, Phil there. And I think Ocean Dweller said earlier on, makes me want to get a dog. The N2 doesn't extend to Madeira. But you knew that. Okay, let's have a look at a few of these events that are happening then here on the Iberian FM phone-in, which is a bit of a spillover today from the Good Morning Portugal show. So many people that we wanted to speak to this morning, and so glad we did. And we didn't have time to fit everything in. So a little bit of a relief valve. I called the phone-in. What did I call it? The storm drain as well. So, and that might be more the case as we go on to talk about the Bilderberg Group. Because they're meeting in Lisbon as we speak, I think. And also, I think we should, before I go to Andy's list of events in the Bairrada, I think he's back now and listening. And he sent us a lovely cycling video, which we'll show on Monday, of course. We like an Andy cycling video, cycling through the Bairrada on a Monday morning. But we've got your events to show as well this weekend, Andy, before we go off and have a jolly old weekend. And I'm going to put on, before I do those events, the Pestana Posadas that Coach Turner was talking about. So again, another one of Portugal's underestimated, underrated, understated delights, the Pestana Posadas. And it's a number of places to stay around, a whole network of places to stay, basically. Let's do a little sampling, shall we? The Posada Lisboa, you can stay right on the Praça do Comércio. You can stay in the Estoril Palace. You can stay in the Serra da Estrela. And it's ranging here from nearly 350 euros a night to 100 euros a night. And I think the CR7, the Cristiano Ronaldo hotels, are included in this. Discover the destinations of the Pestana Hotels and Resorts, the Pestana Collection Hotels, and the CR7 Hotels and Posadas de Portugal. They're a little bit like, and I'm sure João or Antonio will be able to help here. They're a little bit like youth hostels, aren't they? But they sound a little bit more upmarket. And looking at the prices, they're perhaps a little bit more upmarket than the old youth hostels that I would have, and others would have stayed at in the UK. But look, Estrela, Viseu, Serra da Estrela, Posada Mosteiro, Crato, Guimarães, Viana do Castelo, places to stay all over the country, and luxury places to go to, iconic places in Portugal. This is good. Posadas de Portugal, monument and historic hotels is what it says on the website there. I had no idea, and a map of all these wonderful locations as well, and some lovely food. Although that to me looks like ravioli. That's not, Portuguese got a ravioli as well. Okay, let me make sure you've got the website address for this treat. and I'll stick that into the comments now before we have a look at a few events around the country. Thank you for that, Coach Turner. Good job there. So let me put the link to Pestana Posadas. That's going into the comments right now. Okay, let's have a look at some events courtesy of Bairandi then. Find these on the Gumper map, these and many others, and we're still looking for somebody who can compete with Bairandi for events in their local area. There is a complaint, isn't there, that we never know what's going on. Portuguese people don't need to advertise these things because their communities tend to know what's going on, but us foreigners would like to know. So if you see a leaflet and you'd like other people to know, or you want to meet up with Gumpers there, why not stick it up on our Gumper map, which you'll find at goodmorningportugal.com. And also there, you'll find the details for the upcoming weekends, the Discovery weekends. First one then to look at is the Festa dos Grelos in Carpelhos, Mira, and this is a fantastic, unique festival in a great location. Is that Mira, the beach town of Mira? Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for that. And these, Andy. We're looking at the Wolves Coven Party in Corval de Lobo, Bairrada. Come and join the party. So the Sardinia action is beginning. Sardines at this one. I noticed that Pete in Castanheira de Pera also promoting, yes, it's sardine season. The posters are great as well. Not only are these events wonderful local events to go to, the posters for so many of these events are wonderful and would make great framed prints as well, including this one just in from Pete in Castanheira de Pera. So I don't know if Pete has put this on the Pete Wilton Davies over there in Castanheira de Pera has put this on our Gumper map. But there's one, the crossed sardines sign there. That's a Sardinada of Sant Antonio. That's this 10th of June. Oh, so not this weekend, coming up in June. I guess that's in the thick of the sardine season. Let's go back to Andy's selection now and have a look at the, a Caracol, a snails festival just north of Coimbra is this fabulous snails gastronomic show with a snail theme, Caracol Festa in Povoa de Lomba in Cantanhede, north of Coimbra. And you drive up the IC2. A great road trip as well there. In this show, you can enjoy delicious delicacies and dishes made with a lot of imagination and taste, including rissois de caracois, espetadas de snail kebabs, skewers. How do you do that? Chamfana de caracois. Oh, so you're adding snails into other things, a little bit like the clams and pork, I suppose. Great idea. I wonder if there's any cornbread. Portugal has a cornbread, of course, the broa, doesn't it? Which can be quite a challenge on the dentures. So let's refer to it as that. Automobilia, the auto jumble and transport show in the Aveiro Exhibition Park, and for vehicular enthusiasts, a bike or a moped ride anyway to Fatima from Funtal. Is that Blessing of the Helmets? Is that tying into Blessing of the Helmets, Andy? Turbina is usually used to describe the Zundap 5-speed 50cc T2 engine. I think other riders are welcome too, but there'll be a lot of Zundaps on that ride there. Isn't it amazing what you can experience in Portugal? Rice Festival, and that will be on the 21st, so that's on Sunday, isn't it? Come along to this unique event in the beautiful Portuguese countryside. Baked rice, pork and rice, rice and beans, shellfish and rice. Oh, stop it, Andy. And moving on to a night of fado in support of the Vagos volunteer firefighters. A lot of these events, of course, are fundraisers, so another good reason to go along. Ride out, lunch in Val de Avim in Anadia, where we used to live there in Anadia before we moved to Fanadia, funnily enough. Walk and lunch at Lagoa de Torres, and pop it down on there for me, Mrs. M. Join in this. Yes, you may join me. Do you want to come and talk about the Bilderbergs then? You want to laugh at it? Okay, I'll put... All right, your microphone is up and ready. We're looking at some events in the wonderful Bairrada region.
What comments have you had about the Build-A-Bear Foundation?
Nothing yet. Stop it. Getting eggy already. We've been enjoying the Alentejano countryside.
How lovely.
We've been going to some posadas online, and now we're looking at a few events. Hold your fire. Keep your powder dry for just one moment. Just to think the Bilderbergs.
It's new moon today.
The Bilderbergs are only about an hour and 15 minutes away from us meeting today.
I know, that's why we've got an increase in flies. Like the
have they stopped the chemtrailing though over them?
Yeah. I did notice that
Look, please don't start
the
yet.
skies are a bit clearer.
Don't start yet.
But there is a distinct increase in fly, like food for
Are you saying that, like flies round the proverbial, the Bilderbergs have attracted lots of flies to put?
No, I'm
You're
saying
so naughty.
I'm
please.
saying they're cold-blooded. They like things like flies to eat.
Can you stop? Seriously, I want to make distinct sections of this before the trigger alert
Before
has to
I-
be
okay,
issued
sure.
this morning. So walk and party in Bushdosh, Barad. I love the name Bushdosh. If this event is the same as it was last time, it's great fun. Andy gets to a lot of these. A nice walk, then lunch, of course, here in Portugal. Then an afternoon party with live entertainment. €5 gets you a great T-shirt. Do you know what? Andy hasn't
You get a
bought.
T-shirt as well.
He
That's
hasn't bought
amazing.
any clothes in a shop for the last 20 years. He just gets a free T-shirt at all these events he goes to, and he sews the T-shirts into underpants and all sorts of other things, socks. Amazing. €5.
Did you just make that up?
Of course I did. 5. Yeah. Soup
Andy.
and a taxi home. I think, and a massage. You get a massage. I'd want a massage as well for
massage?
€5. Yeah.
Do you know what?
Shelling out all
I'm
that.
really grateful for those lovely tankards that we've got.
Exactly. Our house has
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
bits of ephemera from various.
Yeah,
events,
I
doesn't
love
it?
the
If I move over
festive
here.
vibe. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
better.
come and enjoy a communal lunch where you can find a variety of dishes at the Fava Festa. I wonder if there's a little Hannibal Lecter
Going,
and a little
horrible.
Chianti concession going on there as well. He ruined it, didn't he? Come and enjoy a communal lunch where you can find a variety of dishes, all made with traditional fava, and an afternoon full of fun, friendship, and excitement. What more could you want? 7 homemade courses for €15 there.
I hope it's an open air event.
Bring your appetite. Very good. That's some material. Oh, dad jokes. We've got to do this. You know, Phil came out on the show
As
today
what?
as a comedian,
Oh,
a stand-up comedian.
right.
He's going to be 60, and he's going to take to the stage as his this one thing that he's daring himself to do. So bring your appetite and a spare liver. Troviskal is a quaint and quite posh village in the Bairrada, worth a visit to explore this area with some super points of interest and an interesting museum and a lovely 3. Oh, you'll have to go to the Gumper map for all the rest of that. How fantastic. Thank you, Andy. Highlights for the coming weekend. And of course, we'll see Andy on his bike.
I really love how Andy like updates the map, and he's always putting stuff on
He's
it.
a legend.
He's really good. He's really
no question.
doing something for the team.
Straight up legend, untouched, unrivaled when it comes. And you know, at some point, somebody's going to come along and challenge him, and they're going to be collating events from their area and sticking them up on the Gumper map.
Who's your money on?
Ooh.
Which part? Because there's a big Gumper community down in sort of like Portimao area, isn't there?
There is, but they're drunk all the time. They won't get it. They won't get it together, will they? To do that, I have my suspicions on this matter, but I don't want to sort of prejudge, preempt, or put anyone off at this stage.
Mm.
You were leaning forward as if to say something. You're just winding me up, aren't you? Okay, right. If you're watching on Internet Explorer, updates are available at the moment. You're welcome. And we're moving on now to the Bilderberg group, at which point I think Mrs. M is going to become quite excited. I know when I spoke to David Icke back in 1994, it was one of the names of groups. Should we do this now? And the dad jokes later, or should we finish with dad jokes?
Yeah, let's cheer
Just
us
to
up at the
lighten the
end.
mood at the end, because you know who knows where this might go for the next little while. So I'm going to issue this now. Okay.
That was a bit loud.
Already,
in my ear.
it has to be. It has to be. People know that there is a triggering may occur. Sardines are great when other people prepare and cook them. Yes, you don't really want the smell of
sardines
sardines in your house. Just completing on the Pusada business, youth inns, Pusadas de Juventud, are usually cheaper. Okay, so that's why I was confused.
Didn't we
and
stay in one
available.
of those when we were way too old to in the Gerlesh?
No, that was just a youthful hostel.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it was an official. It might have been. It might have been. And I didn't know, and you did. Satanya Veiro Hospital waiting
Oh.
room. What? Nothing important. Just some regular blood work. Oh, we're talking about vampires as well, aren't we today?
Yeah, lunch at the
no-
crickets rather than a lunch of crickets, which the Bilderberg
Oh,
group will actually
You
want
do
to
not
bring in
miss-
for us.
You do not miss an opportunity. Squire of the Shires, who likes a bit of Iberian FM action. The Bilderberg group reminds us of the values and principles of a certain political party in Germany in the late 30s. Their philosophies endure in this and similar organizations today. Yikes, that's chilling. And bring it on, says Bike Andy, wanting to talk about this. Fist! And there's a glamping weekend from the 26th to the 29th in the Pampalhosa de Serra. Don't fancy that in thunderstorms and rain, just for everyone else's benefit. Cheers, Pete. Thank you very much. You don't want to be going, do you think you should go to a Fava Festa and then camp that night?
No.
What a nightmare!
But there's enough gas. You'd be cooking on gas if you want
It'd
to.
be nice and warm in there.
You could literally cook on your own gas.
The advocate for highly. So, back to the Bilderberg group. We are sublime and ridiculous, aren't we here? And let's not forget those dad jokes later. They advocate for a highly centralized national governments that are heavily socialized, centralized, controlled education and removal of organized religion. Okay, I've gone off them already. Right, let's see what they're up to in Lisbon this weekend. They've cancelled our what? The Illuminati. Is it Halluminati?
The Illuminati.
The Illuminati have cancelled the local cheese festival due to strong winds, which have blown the tents away. Very good. Okay. I can delay this no longer. I'm going to bring onto the screen the Bilderberg website. Have you seen that, Mrs. M? The
What?
tab has just got 2 numbers on. Are they power numbers or something that you would?
Got 2.0.
It just says apostrophe 20 on the Bilderberg website. Is that a sign of some sort?
Most likely, but I don't know what it's a
Most
sign
likely. Okay,
of.
before
Isn't it just like 20?
I don't know. I really don't know. We're back to their homepage
Bizarre.
now, and we're bringing them onto the screen now on the Iberian FM phone in.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
what's always fascinating to me is all this government documents. It's very sort of like
It's not government.
you know what I mean. But I mean, these guys feed into the governments.
Okay, well, let's find out. Since its inaugural meeting in 1954, the annual Bilderberg meeting has been a forum for informal discussions to foster dialogue between Europe and North America. Not unlike ourselves so far. Okay, we're happy. However,
Yeah, neither of us were here in
wonder-
1954.
no, but we do like to foster dialogue between Europe and North America. Apart from creating a massive hitstorm this morning by describing cornbread as cake, I wonder if that's on their agenda. I got into some trouble with that. Every year, approximately 130 political leaders and experts from industry,
Experts.
finance, labor, academia, and the media are invited to take part. And you can barely wait to comment. I can hear you taking a breath already.
Who's choosing these experts? I mean,
They choosing themselves. It's like
Yes,
a gumper. It's
exactly.
like a gumper gathering.
yeah, it's like you choosing who's
Let's
gonna...
all right. Let's do it. Let's do it for the sake of some objective comparison and logic in this conversation. Let's do like a control group of gumpers. So gumpers get together, and others might point a finger and say, "Oh, they're just an elitist group who are self-serving and only interested in their own lives." Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
All groups that get together pretty much do that.
Well,
right?
yeah, that does happen. But these guys are feeding into everything.
All right, let's find out. Let's find out about. You're not. I don't think you're coming into this in a very open-minded way. This is the open-minded, open-hearted discussion phone-in where.
Yeah, where are the
where we-
calls? Sorry, if it's a phone in, is your phone first of all? Is it
she's
turned
getting
on?
eggy. She's getting
Is it
eggy as well.
charged?
It is charged and it's Bluetooth connected, and we are ready for your calls. Should you want to make one, you'll have the shock of your life if old Klaus calls in.
Oh, I'd love to speak with him.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Or he'll say, "This is Dave calling from Berlin. I can tell you that the World Economic Forum has no malintent in your lives. Eat the bugs. Thank you. Have a nice day. Love to the family." Okay, right. About 2/3 of the participants come from Europe and the rest from North America. 1/3 from politics and government and the rest from other fields.
Let's see who's on the speaker list this year.
Let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
The meeting is a forum for informal discussion about major issues, just like a Gumper gathering, and some more sort of local ideas and where to get the best bifana and that sort of thing. Although no doubt if they're meeting in Lisbon, they'll be talking about that as well. The meetings are held under the Chatham House rule, which I have to say does sound like something from Eton, doesn't it? Chatham House rules, chaps. Oh yes, with some stolly bolly on the side, which states that participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers, nor any other participant may be revealed. Well, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. What goes on at the Gumper gathering stays at the Gumper gathering. Confidentiality, respect.
Also, a lack of transparency.
You might say. Thanks to the private...
And no responsibility for what you're actually saying. Because what it's saying there with those Chatham House rules...
wait to get to the
is
FAQs.
that you can share the content, but you're not allowed to say who was involved.
Right.
Well, that's just like gossip. That's just like saying,
All right.
"Psst."
Yeah, but then it's no different to a
say
lot of other
this.
human gatherings, okay?
Yeah, but like these feed into public policy.
See, great similarities between a Gumper gathering and the Bilderberg so
No,
far. Thank you, Viv.
they feed into public policy. And, you know, I think we should have absolute transparency in a way that at the start of the phenomenon known as the pandemic,
Yeah.
there was a lack of transparency as to how much things had been tested, where the information was coming
peaking
from.
early. You're peaking early here.
Okay.
Can we come back?
That's fair enough.
Okay. Soalheira. Pete is lightening the mood with a bit of Vinho Verde here. It's a village I can never pronounce. Soalheira. To pronounce it properly, you have to swallow bubbles. Don't try this at home, kids. They are the elite of the world, and they believe in using military power to advance their cause when necessary. Okay,
Yeah.
so Gumpers don't believe in that.
Well, I hope some do. I have seen I have seen with my own
Shame
eyes.
on you if you're a Gumper and you believe in military power to advance our cause.
I have seen a comment from one or two Gumpers suggesting that anyone that doesn't go along with certain mandates should be
facing military force.
Should be
That's not the
forcibly
same. All right,
put
okay.
into the back of a police van, taken off to a camp, and medically.
No Gumper would say that.
I've seen it with my own eyes.
All right, the ultimate.
So you know, everyone exists within every community.
They do. Okay, and that's why we have an open-minded, open-hearted discussion here. The sort of thing you're not going to see this anywhere else on the internet, are you?
Yes, you will.
What, a comparison between Gumpers and the Bilderberg?
Oh
Group?
no, maybe not.
And a light-hearted look at world domination. The ultimate goal is a one world government that dominates the entire planet.
Yeah,
well, that's a big agenda.
Well, I mean, that's already coming on.
No, please wait. Okay, I'm not going to stop you speaking, but I might.
You are actually.
Well, I am.
Every,
I know.
every 5 minutes.
Technically speaking, I am stopping. Well, we're doing it to each other.
Do you know that there's a new bit of legislation that all of the governments are all signing into at the moment to say that if the CDC or the WHO calls another pandemic, that every single country has to abide by these new rules, and these new rules supersede the government protocols.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so that's just been completely signed into worldwide practice against the actual people and consultation, and it seems to have completely ignored any counter evidence of whether that's an effective protocol or not. So there's like this, just as the BBC in the UK and Sky News in the UK are saying, oh, avian flu is coming. And as they're saying that in America and in China, and sowing the seeds for it. I mean, they're sowing the seeds for it, just as a new legislation has been signed in to say that next time a pandemic is coming, and lots of people have already said, like Bill Gates, for instance, who has absolutely no interest, whether, you know, like no financial interest.
Internet Explorer. We're back to Internet Explorer again, aren't we?
You know, he's already saying there will be another pandemic. It's almost like he's got a crystal ball.
When I think of Bill Gates, he has caused so much misery, isn't he? Internet Explorer, that paperclip.
Yeah, that paperclip was pretty tragic. But
Microsoft Teams.
And then you've got a lot of these
2020.
And then you've got a lot of these stooges meeting up in a secret meeting where they're not held accountable for what is being discussed.
Are we back at the Bilderbergs now?
Yes, and yet they're going to go back to their respective locales, and they're going to get everyone into some kind of locked step forward.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I'm just a little bit.
Well, it's going well there. According to their agenda, well, that does sound quite one world government. What you just described.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if there was something to occur, and they decide to all pull rank simultaneously at the same time, they can actually say, well, you know, because of this health outbreak with avian flu, every bit of wildfowl can be killed. If you've got your own hens, even if they're locked up, they can all be executed. You know, they could actually say, oh, you're much better off eating insects, and it's much better for the environment.
Well, if I continue my comparison of the slaughter of
individuality and sovereignty, and human rights,
you are peaking very early, I've got to say. That could be the climactic point of your points, but you went straight there, and I don't blame you for that. But if we're talking about the slaughter of bird life, the Gumpers would only do that at the Shoulda Square on a Friday night. Have a bit of barbecued chicken. We would not go to the extremes that the Bilderbergs you allegedly would go to. So Viv is saying absolutely unique. Let's send Klaus home. He's not Santa Claus, is he? Let's face it. Although he does have a special kind of gift for everybody. But we don't want it.
Satan Claus.
So there's Santa Claus, and you say there's Satan Claus.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we'll do a better job with love and good food and beer and wine. Yes, that is a Gumper agenda. Squire of the Shire says, while the country was locked down, they were on vacation or getting
a haircut. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that a euphemism? Or
no, that's wasn't that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi getting a haircut?
Oh, I see.
At like reopening a
allegedly.
No, there's actual evidence for doing it.
A photograph
and then her
on
talking about
Facebook
it.
is not evidence.
No, I think she was questioned on it, and said,
yes, I have my haircut.
She was very indifferent about it. She didn't care,
Really?
and none of them were wearing masks.
While your child's school was closed, their children continued to learn in private school. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and they learn different material as well.
Andrew Gilchrist likes,
Build
the Build-A-Bear. They're just down the road from you, Andrew. You're going to pop down there and take some photos for us. While you had to abide by the rules, wearing the Ag mask, were too busy partying, feeling the spirit. I saw Matt Hancock on Twitter. Oh my God, what an individual. Prefer Danny Bear to Build-A-Bear. Yeah, fair point. I'm not quitting bacon. You see, he doesn't mind about the world domination, but he's not.
Everyone has their limits. Everyone has.
So he's got a bacon threshold.
For most people, we are fine all the time that the control mechanisms that actually work for us in our lives are disrupted. But the moment something comes in that disrupts and causes a bit of pain for us, that's when we hit the threshold.
That's right. So I'll do anything, but give up bacon.
And then
you can have your world domination and 15-minute cities, but try and take my bacon away. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because we all have a different pain threshold. And mine is honesty.
Yeah, which triggers you every day, pretty much, doesn't it? You should stop looking at Facebook. And conspiracy mums.
I don't go on any conspiracy.
There is no such thing, is there? I made that up.
Carla's been ridiculing me, saying I'm part of a conspiracy mums group.
Why don't we start it?
No, I have no interest.
That'll be a good school group.
I'm not.
Conspiracy moms with an O. Or his eggs.
Yeah, I don't want my eggs to go either.
Which ones are we talking about? Squire of the Shire. Either eggs. Okay, yeah, that's a bit awkward, isn't it? And chilling. This might. Hey Jay, how are you? This might Bilderberg meet might be where they agree some nice proposal to end the suffering of humanity or the end of death. Yeah, we can live it. Thank you, Jay, for bringing a ray of sunshine into.
I love your optimism there, and that would be really, truly amazing.
And maybe in 1954, that's how it started. It's like, gentlemen, we could bring about the end of human suffering and end debt slavery with this meeting and these powerful people gathered here. What do you think? You gotta be kidding. Yes. Well, we can only hope, Jay, and thank you.
I really love that, Jay.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Could Santa be part of this conference? Says Global Nobles. He knows if you're sleeping. It was the surveillance that we were brought up on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Oh my God! The scales are falling from my eyes.
That's why we've never had an elf on the shelf, because I don't want to teach our children that that their behavior is being analyzed and judged.
Naughty or nice.
Yeah, I mean, they can all screw themselves.
This is a 15-minute city strategy, isn't it? So, we're training our kids from an early age, aren't we? To behave and conform. And here we are on the verge of 15-minute cities.
Yeah.
I think if they're sensible at the Bilderbergs, they will say they'll do a negotiation strategy, CIA style, won't they? Well, they'll say 15-minute cities, that's ridiculous. We're going to give you 30-minute cities. And everyone will feel like they've got a discount or a concession and say, yeah, bring it on.
Well, yeah, that's like after the lockdown, all of a sudden people were given their freedoms back.
These 30-minute cities are great, aren't they? Could be worse.
They always had them in the first place.
Yes, exactly. Give you your freedom back and make it look like a gift.
Yes.
Which is also another Christmas strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm getting triggered, I think, maybe. The control mechanism won't work in Portugal, says Lord Gilchrist. People still, well, isn't that a saving grace?
Do you know what, Andrew? I really like the fact that we're here because, I think it always takes, Portuguese people a little bit longer to get mobilized. and that's no fault from the of them.
No judgment.
Yeah, no judgment. Although that sounds like an obvious judgment.
It did to me.
Yeah, it did sound like a judgment. I'm sorry for saying that. So I think it would take a little bit longer for it all to roll out.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really like about the Portuguese, from what I know about them, and I'm not an expert, but I believe you are, is that their family bonds are so much stronger, and that they work together within the family unit a lot more. And so whereas maybe in the US or UK, people that might be enacting some rather inhumane laws and just kind of disassociating themselves and carrying them out, I don't think it's going to happen in quite the same way. I think, if the police or the army or the Air Force or anything are doing anything that it just doesn't resonate with the whole family culture, I think people will start to question it a bit sooner.
Isn't that fantastic?
So that's my
so
thought. I don't know if that's true.
No, but you might say that's a cultural limit. And
yeah,
I have heard
if you attack the family, the family will push back.
There'll be a cultural pushback.
Whereas in the UK, my understanding is that from actually being Brit, I just don't think the family ethos is as strong as it is here.
We could shorthand that to sardines, couldn't we? Like bacon, like Andy saying bacon, Portuguese culture, like come for our sardines and that's
and we'll have you.
Yeah, that's it as a sort of motif.
If you take our coffee,
for family, coffee,
we'll knock you out.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Andy Gilchrist. Elves on Shelves is 180 1080 pixel HDR spy camera, like the Alexa being listening device, and your cell phone being a tracker. We're so free, aren't we, in this age? Bring back Internet Explorer. Hola, bon dia. From Doug. How you doing,
Doug? How you feeling?
Hey, how are you? Old bean. Now, I was trying to read through the homepage of the Bilderberg Group. I was rudely interrupted by you, basically. So I'll go back. Part of the semi-pseudo-scientific experiment. I am not a pandemicist, meteorologist, psychologist, any of the above.
Okay, can I just ask? Even though you're not,
never going to get to read this,
even though you're not a pandemologist or whatever you called it,
pandemonium,
a meteorologist, you can look out of your window and know what the weather is. So, like
a lot of people say, using my own senses.
Yes, you have your own human senses.
What?
Like,
I'm speechless.
Well, there are loads of recent examples where we've been called to believe on things that go against our actual senses,
like a cognitive dissonance, you might say.
Well,
or
like
brainwashing.
I think we've kind of been, and this is where I stand, very conspiratorial. But as opposed to when
up to now, you haven't at all.
But I think there's been a bit of an agenda to make us believe that, like,
gaslighting, you're called.
Gaslighting, to make us think that black is white and white is black.
Yep.
Or actually not to see color at all, because it doesn't exist. And that's, I'm all for equity, but believe it or not, even though if you start to ask questions, most people say, oh, you're a far right, blah blah.
Well, anyway, I have got to that. I daren't say it's sunny outside, just in case somebody does call me a far right extremist. I've been cancelled twice in the last year, haven't I? Me, of all people.
Yeah, I know, because you're really in the middle of everything, aren't you?
Yeah.
You sit very much squarely in the middle.
Endeavour to. I've had to impose some boundaries as well. And I did. No, actually, the score, I've cancelled one person, although not really. And I've been cancelled by two people.
Yeah.
How many have you been cancelled by this? You
don't know.
stopped counting, haven't you?
I have no idea. But we've been encouraged to not believe our senses. So, for instance, the whole thing, like up until 3 years ago, we knew when we were ill because we had symptoms and we got into bed and we slept it off.
Yes.
And we probably took ourselves out of circulation somewhat.
Yes. Keep talking into your microphone. So
okay. Well, in the last 3 years, we've all learned that there's this thing called.
Oh, I look at a piece of plastic to find out if I'm ill now.
Yeah, like where are our instincts? So we're now being told, or we were told 3 years ago,
lying on a piece of plastic,
that we can be carriers of things without having any symptoms. But
that was always the thing with
that's just not how bodies.
Wasn't it?
That's just not how bodies work.
You were right.
And if you say things like that, people say, "But you're not a doctor."
You and your far right.
But like,
medical
if you haven't got a temperature, your body isn't reacting to anything.
Or as some say, if you And then what is it? If you're well, you just haven't had enough tests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you look for something hard enough, you'll always be able to find something.
That's true.
Our
isn't it?
bodies are a
Seek and you shall
symbiotic
find.
mix of everything. You know, like we've got bacteria, we've got viruses, even, you know, like no viruses have ever actually been completely identified.
I'm never going to get through this homepage, am I? I can see you've peaked earlier than normal. It doesn't take much, does it?
Okay,
but today, I mean, the mere mention of Bilderberg.
Go on. You know, sorry.
Really?
I was just going to say, you know, this
Yes,
does fit
I know.
in because these guys are going to be talking about this on their list of things that they want to talk about.
Yes.
Is China.
Yeah. I like to talk about China.
And
Gumper gatherings, we've talked about China.
Immunity.
And Russia.
Immunity in China.
Right.
Are their top subjects.
Oh, you've had a little look at this, have you already?
I haven't looked at that, but I've looked at something that was put out by them.
Oh, an interpretation. I'm going direct to Bilderberg.
Okay.
I'm not allowing myself.
Because they are obviously going to put
unless this
really
is
doing.
a kind of, you know, like a double bluff or something. I think I am looking at bilderbergmeetings.org, which I think is the official and not a spoof website or AI or anything like that. Okay.
But if it was, we wouldn't know.
Right. Have you finished?
No, probably.
You haven't.
I don't know. Probably not.
Okay, never. But may I read to the bottom? Can I read?
Oh, and banking. Banking's another thing that they're talking about. Banking, China, and immunity.
This is going to be one of those Facebook reels. Watch as the guy tries to read to the end of the sentence to his conspiracy theorist wife. He never gets there. I'm going to turn the microphone down, everybody.
Okay.
Like, no, that would be the equivalent of cancelling, which I'm not into. Right. But I might. Okay, thanks. So we got to Chatham House rules, didn't we? Which states that participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers nor any other participant may be revealed, which, as you say, could be a good or a bad thing.
That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing.
Well, like everything, there could be a good or a bad side to it. I mean, there are times that's a whistleblower, isn't it? In another world.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Maybe. Thanks to the private nature of the meetings. Oh, actually, we've got some sound effects, haven't we, for the Illuminati here?
Yeah. No. What you want is you want this one. You want this one because this is super creepy.
That's the God Squad jingle.
I know, but it sounds creepy to me.
It's Darth Vader heavily breathing through a mask. And I imagine, do you think they're going to have cosplay at this Bilderberg?
Well,
Darth Vader masks, stuff like that.
I've absolutely no idea how
you
these
do
guys
have a lot of ideas.
No, I have no idea how they get their kicks.
You so do. But I don't want you to go there.
No,
right
I
now.
don't want to
really.
go there.
I have to draw the line somewhere. Thanks to the private nature of the meeting, the participants take part as individuals. Oh, I see. Rather than in any official capacity, which is a line I've always taken when I've made a mistake at work. Hoping not to be fired, and hence are not bound by the conventions of their office or by pre-agreed positions.
Oh, even they
free
take
speech.
even they take.
That sounds like free speech to me.
Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like an so they can say what they want.
Yeah,
and also they are not taking responsibility for it because their names are not allowed to be against what they're saying.
There are two sides to that, but yes, what you're saying is right, and I think what I'm saying is right as well. It depends on the context.
Okay.
As such, they can take time to listen. Excellent. That deserves some Gumper dust.
Okay.
Yeah. Reflect and gather insights. That sounds like good.
Gather insights.
Ennobling and edifying human behavior.
Maybe.
There is no detailed agenda, says here on the website.
Okay.
There are no resolutions. Oh, no resolutions are proposed. No votes are taken.
Yeah, because they're not interested in people's votes.
No policy statements are issued. I'm nearly there. I've nearly read the whole of the homepage of the Bilderberg meetings, and it's only taken me 30 minutes to read 2 paragraphs.
Go on.
The 69th Bilderberg meeting, power number, sexy power number, will take place from the 18th to the 21st of May in Lisbon, Portugal.
That's what they're wanting us to eat.
A press release including the list of topics and participants. It's lunchtime. Okay. Oh, dear, you forever changed that sound effect for me. Okay, excellent. Now we're looking at the press release now. How do you think I'm going to be able to get through this? We've
No,
got 1, 2, 3. Are you? Is everyone else seeing? Yeah, okay. You can see the press release. Louisa is right. That jingle is sinister.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It
Okay.
really is.
Everyone's got to go, but we're going to keep talking here, aren't we? Bilderberg's Pete says it sounds like a Zoom meeting with cameras off, meaning that the experts have as much to say as the profoundly spurious snake oil salespeople, a bit like YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that's a big old judgment.
But you know what?
There.
On YouTube, people's faces are usually on it and their names.
Yes.
So, like we are kind of, like we're not hidden.
Traceable.
Yeah, we are traceable.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
in a way that
I should
they're
have
not.
thought about that. Okay.
No,
So
it's
this
fine.
is an anonymous. They still got my photograph on there. Blast! I'm still here. Says Lord. I'm still here. The Espetadas Bichos, are they the cricket Espetadas? Possibly. It's just not cricket, old chap. Like giving the same credence to a nurse. Oh, we fit the John Campbell button here. Is that a trigger? Like giving the same credence to a nurse with, and I have got into some trouble on Facebook, I think. Although
Why?
Yes, I was talking about excess deaths.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got one correspondent on Facebook who only ever, have you noticed this on Facebook, where you've got someone who only comments on one particular kind of content that you put up?
Not really.
I put lots of stuff up,
Yeah.
but whenever I put anything pandemic, vaccine, or excess death related, this guy responds within minutes.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's a bot. I don't think he is, but it's almost like, and he says nothing else like happy anniversary or have a great birthday. He's just there to deal with this. So same credence to a nurse with a doctorate in media studies as to a PhD in bioscience, like the utterly discredited nurse John. Utterly discredited. I'm not seeing those.
No, I haven't seen that he's utterly discredited.
I think that's the esteemed Dr. Campbell. See, it's like you and me here. It's the Gumper Gathering versus the Builder. It depends how you look at things, doesn't it?
I like Andrew's last comment.
These are all points of view. It's comforting to know that AI will be the ultimate controlling device that will dominate humanity. The difference engine without a soul will make species-wide decisions.
Yeah.
Come on, it's never going to happen. The only artificial intelligence that's going on is a lack of intelligence, basically, which I would hazard a guess. I would say, in my conspiratorial way, that there is not much intelligence at a Bilderberg meeting. It's people just with a certain agenda, confirmation biasing themselves. They've got lots of money as well, and they feel important, and they're probably sexually frustrated. That would be my.
I suspect it's a bit like it's just a massive brainstorming. Okay, so here's where we want to be in 60 years. Right, we've got our 2030 goals.
Well,
but hang on,
send them an email.
No, please.
We've got the email address there. I could actually send them a link to this YouTube.
No,
you're in more trouble than me if that happens. Aren't you?
Oh, it doesn't matter. But I think it's a bit like they've got their 2030 goals, which they're already kind of hurtling towards. But I think actually the Bilderberg is like, okay, it's like what every CEO is doing in a big company. They're saying, okay, where do we want to be in 2090? Okay, right. How on task are we with that? Okay, so let's have some blue sky thinking. Let's create some focus teams.
Yeah.
Schwab, you're over there.
No one would talk
Johnson.
to Klaus like that.
Okay, well,
Schwab, you're over there. He's the one who says stuff like that.
Well, you know what I mean.
You,
like they get like
Justin, go over there and talk to Hyena, whatever the New Zealand. What's she called? What's she called? The New Zealand Jacinda and Justin, go make babies for new VEF staffing. Which you, according to one of your theories, would be impossible.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's no. I will cancel you.
You need
draw the line somewhere.
Okay.
I think we've lost Pete. Pete's officially gone ad hominem.
Oh.
Esteemed at hospital bed corners, but talking absolute bollocks on YouTube.
He doesn't like.
Is Dr. Campbell like Nurse Ratched? I don't think that's been said, is it? And what's the other one? Yes, I'm making a fortune from the intellectually challenged. That's unfair. I am not a member of his YouTube channel. And Bilderberg pulls the strings.
How's he making a fortune? I don't think
I hope John Campbell. I mean, from my own personal point of view, I enjoy his videos. I get a lot of good confirmation bias from John Campbell.
Well, I mean, we all have our preferred channels, don't we, where we
Yes.
get confirmation bias.
Yeah.
But I don't see how he's making a fortune from the intellectual.
Oh, him and
challenge.
Asim Malhotra. I think the Roadshow is doing pretty well, and so
Oh,
it should,
okay.
as far as I'm concerned. But
Okay.
I've said Malhotra now. If Pete wasn't incendiary enough, that might do the trick. Bilderberg pulls the strings of every government and intelligence agency in the Western world.
Interesting, yeah.
James Morgan.
Yeah. What
That-
could possibly go wrong?
I've
that
got a
all
little
these
bit of a
people get
lateral
together
thought.
and then they start planning like the next 50 years.
If that is true, the best way to get through to Seth then possibly is to join the Bilderbergs. And you can be pulling the strings from the inside. But then again, they're probably not worried about visas and lowly matters like that, are they? So, all corporate thinking, we want growth year on year.
Yeah. Well, I think what you mean by that, Andrew, is we want personal growth year on year and we want poverty year on year and more.
Socialism for the rich, capitalism for the poor. I think that'll be on the agenda, won't it? Okay, so I still haven't. It's 10:55, Mrs. M. I've been sat in front of this computer for about 5 hours now.
Yeah.
In all together. Can I please read the
Go
press
on.
release
Okay.
of the Bilderberg meeting 2023, the 69th Bilderberg meeting to take place. Welcome everybody to the 69th Bilderberg meeting taking place here in Lisbon, Portugal.
I've been at every single one.
That's right. I remember when I was 102 at the first one. Lisbon. I think George Soros still with us? There were rumours that he passed away. He might have been flown in. Is he part of this? Lisbon, 18th of May 2023, the 69th Bilderberg meeting will take place from the 18th to 21st of May in Lisbon, Portugal. About 130 participants from 23 countries. That's not a very... I'm hoping with my Portugal Immigrant Network, we're going to get a better representation than that. 23 countries of the 180 countries of the world. As ever, a diverse group of political leaders. They've just said it's 130 people from 23 countries. That doesn't sound essentially diverse to me.
No, it's not very diverse.
Political leaders and experts from industry, finance, academia. Oh, now we're in trouble. Labour and the media have been invited.
The media, that's interesting, isn't it?
List of participants. We've got to comb that as well before we leave. Do you want to get a glass of wine?
No.
Key topics for discussion this year. I wonder if I can get through this list without Mrs. M losing it. AI, the banking system. The banking system, the debt system, that shouldn't that be? China, energy transition.
Yeah, transitioning us to.
Okay,
I won't
Europe, fiscal challenges. Shouldn't that be in banking system? India, industrial policy and trade. NATO, Russia, transnational threats. Which they are, from what you're saying. Ukraine and US leadership. Some of that would be great, wouldn't it? Founded in 1954, the Bilderberg meeting is. You see, everyone's a target as far as I'm concerned. I'm not being favoritist here. I'm being deeply irreverent as well. The Bilderberg meeting is an annual conference designed to foster dialogue. We've done this bit, haven't we? Isn't this just
they've just pretty much copied the same thing, haven't they?
That's lazy.
It's super lazy.
I think they gave it to an intern who just cut and pasted it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got all the hallmarks of something that's really not important. Like,
yeah,
all that is
better
a front
stick
cover.
something up on the internet.
That just looks like, somebody's magazine. It's got no photos. It's got no nothing.
Well, no, because it's like a Gumper gathering. We've done. Only one Gumper has ever got angry, and he had a similar accent to Klaus Schwab. Actually, he got angry when I took a photograph of the gathering. I mean, I would suggest not going.
Oh gosh, yes.
He was,
yeah.
He did say you have no respect for my privacy,
Yeah.
which was true, and I'm sure we could have sorted it out, but not seen much of him since. So, do you know Stacey Abrams? Is there a scrap going on?
Yeah, I need to sort it out.
Oh, what a shame! I'll be able to read this whole list without you. David Lammy.
See, Henry Kissinger, I don't think should be going at all.
Kissinger.
I mean, he's dark.
Knocking on a bit as well.
Well, a lot of these people, I think, are probably in their 80s.
Are they? Okay. So good job your mum and dad didn't fly into the airport today, because I think all the wheelchairs will be being used at Lisbon Airport in the next few days. Don't actually remember. Oh, Peter Thiel, interesting fella as well. Don't recognise a lot of these. Perhaps not the... Mark Rutte, a name you might know as well. No, it's not an especially luminous or inspiring panel as far as I'm concerned. I wonder what the security's like in Lisbon as well. Anyway, I think it's fair to say we've done our bit. The light has gone out of my phone in life here with a big space where Mrs. M was a few minutes ago talking about this. I think we've talked about the Bilderberg, and thank you for your input on this. And they are meeting, of course, in Lisbon. When is this? From yesterday until Sunday. And I think there will be differences between the Bilderberg Group and the Discovery weekends that the Gumpers are hoping to meet at come September. AI, as a final thought from João Ferreira. João, great to have you here. Thank you for your contributions and your info about the Posadas as well. AI will in time turn the human species into a bunch of stupid, non-thinking people. You could say, couldn't you, that we may have already reached that point. Humans will get used to having a crutch that does all the thinking for them. Now, some would argue, João F., that we already do that, and that is part of the problem of contemporary life, and that's where the Bilderbergs step in. If we were to just laugh at them and their agenda and not be frightened by it, or say, oh, thank you, we were really wondering how to live our lives, and the 15-minute city sounds like a great idea, we won't have to think at all for ourselves. You could argue that that is largely not just in the post, but has been delivered, all that sort of stuff. Now you can read the article. I think I got through to the end of the article. Now Mrs. M has gone. I don't think there's anything else to add here. There are some FAQs on the official website. Now let me see if they give anything away here. If I bring this back onto the screen, the FAQs. Let me just share the right screen for you so you can see it. And I wonder if the Portuguese, João, can you tell us if the Portuguese media have reported on the fact that the great and the good of world leadership, certainly in this context, have arrived in CNN? You would think would be, if what people are saying is true about the Bilderberg groups, Bilderberg meetings, that CNN might give it some coverage. Oh, France is just back wondering what on the hell has happened, I think. Pardon my silence if you sent a message, been a busy morning. Hey, Francis, how you do? Like Google. I'm not sure what that means.
Do you know what? I feel like I need to confess. And
what? And say that you're being a little partisan and partial and biased here?
No.
Oh.
I think I need to just admit that I'm just being a massive dick.
Oh.
You know,
okay. That's an interesting turn for the phone.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I haven't really ever sort of publicly said that before, but it occurs to me there's absolutely naff all I can do about a Bilderberg meeting and the participants. And actually, I'm just kind of really scathing. You're right. I'm not there. I can't really see what's going on.
You're not giving them an open-minded reception.
No, you know, I've just been a real dick. You know, I could be a lot more welcoming, that there are people that really care about the planet, that want to I don't think I can do this. No, that want to look after the world. And, you know, I'm not stepping up.
These are great questions, though. Look.
Go on.
And thank you for that.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean, we're all dicks, aren't we, from time to time?
Yeah.
Whoever doesn't think that is probably the biggest dick ever.
Look, there's that question. Yeah. Why does Bilderberg attract criticism from
Shall we
certain
go
groups?
there? Oh, and I'm expecting some massive. Again, they've given this to the intern, haven't they?
Yeah. The Bilderberg meetings have often been the target of anti-globalization protests and various conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
I can't read it now because you just
have
expressed wild allegations about the purpose of the gatherings. Whilst these claims lack any and all merit, we regret to see that many continue to flourish online and in social media groups. Well, I am one of those.
No, that's good enough for me.
What?
They've said it there. The claims lack any and all merit, so I don't need to worry about it anymore.
Oh, yeah. So if they,
and neither should you.
So because they've said there is nothing to worry about, we should just trust them.
So yeah. I think that's a good note to end on, isn't it?
Yes, that's
excellent
fair.
stuff. Okay, happy anniversary, Squire. I thought it was you. And obrigado, my lord, Man Cave Eshtonoit. So the Man Cave is on tonight. Dare the Man Cave talk about the Bilderbergs tonight.
I imagine if they talk about it when they're boozy, it'd be quite fun.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then Garvo will come in and say it's all subjective, of course.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and the voice of reason will speak, and all will be well with the world. The Man Cave.
I mean, I guess if no one steps up to lead in the way that they feel that they should, and everyone else seems to
someone else will.
Yeah, someone's always going to step into that place.
Yeah, well, I was just addressing that. João said AI will in time turn the human species into a bunch of stupid, not thinking people, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, on a personal level, I think it would be great if we all stopped thinking. But I think what you.
But when you say stop thinking, don't you mean that humans will become?
I think
come back
thinking
into
has
their
got us into the
instinct?
trouble we're in, frankly.
They'll come back into instinct and be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be true humans. The thinking human is just some sort of conceptual weirdness that has come up with AI. I mean, obviously.
The global nobles.
Well, that's so kind. That's so kind. I mean, it was a Marmite show for sure, wasn't it? And we could have lost people. I mean, you probably have, to be fair, but thank you very much. And
Bless you both.
You can sense that we're drawing to a close now. I'm spent. I've got to get in my limousine, which is outside. I'm just off to Lisbon. I can't say why.
No. Is it
But
because you're going to the expats Portugal?
Yeah,
meetup
that's
tonight?
right. That's right. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing. So there's nothing to worry about, and any and all rumors about the Bilderberg meetings have no merit.
No, absolutely no merit.
Excellent. Okay.
They're wild allegations.
Yes, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, have a great weekend. Bon fin de semana.
Bon fin de
Ciao, ciao.
semana.
Great job. Bye for now. See you Monday. Ciao.